What you're looking for won't be found easily. It grows upon the mountain in a sacred place, up beyond the clouds in ancient ground, so they say. And many men have died trekking up that way. looking for won't be found easily. It grows upon the mountain in a sacred place.
There we go.
Yo, Sven. Yo, people. You just got to bear with me just for 3 minutes. I've got milk on the stove.
So I never cared a lot. Stumbled through the back door and ended up in
just bear with me.
JFK had his head and he
All
never
good, man.
got shot. It seemed perfect until the day came, until insane became the norm. God became forlorn. It happened overnight as if someone flipped a switch, flipped the script on this shit. Cause even in the shade it is sunny, somewhere over the rainbow. Walking down this brick road, I stare at walls at night, hoping they do not fall down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. See, I see through the looking glass defiant. I stand tall tall in the midst of giants, gargantuan, shot with an elephant gun. Smiley face till his face grew numb. I read books till my mind grew dumb. Went holy, so I speak in tongues, and it's hard to keep falling when life move around you. All these emotions swirl about you like clouds do. Nothing to do, nothing to do. Never once occurred to me I've been staring out the window at a world that doesn't see me, and my skin can't feel the wind blow. Never once occurred to me I've been staring out the window at a world that doesn't see me, and my skin can't feel the wind blow. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Nothing's on my mind but the time. Usually a fool with it, watching seconds turn to minutes, watching ghosts become a finish, watching friends turn to villains. Back in the days of the sentence, I was dead and holding up the ceiling. Do you remember? Do you recall? No, I don't more. Like it's deja vu. Walk across a barren world. People don't play outside anymore. 'Cause even in the shade and it's sunny, somewhere over the rainbow, walking down this brick road, hoping to find my way home. Said even in the shade and it's sunny, somewhere over the rainbow, walking down this brick road, hoping to find my way back home. We're all we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Never once occurred to me I'll be staring out the window at a world that doesn't see me, and my skin can feel the wind blow. Never once occurred to me I'll be staring out the window at a world that doesn't see me, and my skin can feel the wind blow. And my skin can feel, and my skin can feel, and skin can feel, and skin can feel. There we go. Shit. Yeah. Perfect. I never understood a lot, 'cause I didn't need a lot, have a lot, so I never cared a lot. Stumbled through a black hole and ended up in Camelot, where JFK had his head and he never got shot. It seemed perfect until the day came, until insane became the norm. God became forlorn. It happened overnight as if someone flipped the switch, flipped the script on this shit. 'Cause even in the shade it is sunny, somewhere over the rainbow. Walking down this brick road, I stare at walls at night, hoping they do not fall down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. See, I see through the looking glass defiant. I stand tall in the midst of giants, gargantuan, shot with an elephant gun. Smiley face till his face grew numb. I read books till my mind grew dumb. Went holy, so I speak in tongues, and it's hard to keep falling when life move around you. All these emotions swirl about you like clouds do. Nothing to do, nothing to do. Never once occurred to me I've been staring out the window at a world that doesn't see me, and my skin can't feel the wind blow. Never once occurred to me I've been staring out the window at a world that doesn't see me, and my skin can't feel the wind blow. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. All we got, don't let me down. Don't let me down. Don't let me down. Nothing's on my mind but the time. Usually a fool with it, watching seconds turn to minutes, watching ghosts become a finish, watching friends turn to villains. Back in the days of the sentence, I was dead and holding up the ceiling. Do you remember? Do you recall? No, I don't more. across the barren world. People don't play outside anymore. 'Cause even in the shade and it's sunny, somewhere over the rainbow, walking down this brick road, hoping to find my way.
Right.
Said even in the shade and it's sunny,
I
somewhere
apologise.
over the rainbow,
For taking so long. Sven, you there? Can you hear me, mate?
I can, mate. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I'm just going to put my earphones in. 1 second.
No worries, man. Take it easy. Take your time.
Right, there we go. So have no echo issues now. And I can take this there we go. JP, how you doing? Charlie Eyes, Brian Evans, Andrea. Oh, dude, you come on camera. Ugh.
I have come on camera, mate. Yeah. Do you not like my lipstick?
Right. All right. Hang on 1 second.
I'm always on camera when I'm on your show, mate.
Which
has been a while back, hasn't it? So
it's been a while. It has been a while. Let me just put a shirt on.
Well, I can go off camera if you want. If you don't.
Nah, it's all right. Oh, come on. I just got to put a shirt on. Give me 1 second.
Go on, put a shirt on. Be a devil.
Take the earphones out for a second. Hang on.
Be a Diablo. Hi to everybody in the chat, by the way. I can't read the chat. I tried reading it a couple of times before, and every time I wanted to return back a page, it threw me straight out. So I'm not going to mess around with the chat and write anything in there. It doesn't seem to work.
All right. There we go. A bit more respectable. Put the studio lights on.
Oh, I don't have any studio lights, mate. I have a little side light here. I have a side light in the corner.
Dude, I don't. You know,
I'm always improvising, mate. I've got nothing studio-like set up at all. Nothing.
I've got 2 ring lights that I got from the local, you know, Pakistani electronics shop where you get, you know, they fix computers, and they cost, like, that one cost €15 and that one cost €25. But I needed lights, so
yeah.
It's because, you know, I want the green screen to work and everything. It's all for the benefit of the people watching, really, obviously. Just
why don't you get
invest
those? Why don't you get one of those Kennedy Space Center blue screens? They're pretty cool. They work really well, man.
Yeah.
But they don't work well enough, so you think they're out there in very hostile environments. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. So what have you been up to?
Oh, God blimey, quite a few bits and bobs, actually, to be honest, mate. Yeah, there's been quite a bit, and there's been a really weird thing that's happened to me now that's been going on now for a few months to do with a car.
Right.
And, you know, I don't buy into the let's all get paranoid about stuff kind of thing. But as Kurt Cobain once sang, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not following you.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
and, so anyway, go on, mate.
No, what's your experience with the car?
Well,
because you know that me and Rox have both had experiences with cars.
Well,
what's yours?
What's happened with me is that I bought a car back in February, a second-hand car. One of those reasons was really to hook up also with Ellie to do some old world stuff because she lives other end of the country, and I thought getting a car would be easier. I could visit my parents, pop over to Germany, see my daughter, that sort of stuff, right? I managed to get the money together. Hard work it was. And I fell really ill in February, end of February, beginning of March. And in that time, they wanted me to attach a telematics box to my engine so I can have a cheaper insurance. If you do that for a year and you don't break any rules, then you stick with the cheap insurance and they take the box off your car. But because I was ill, I couldn't attach it. So eventually...
Hang on.
Go on.
How old are you, Sven? How old are you?
Ooh, 49.
49. You're 4 years older than me, right?
Mm.
Do you remember when you passed your driving license? You know, you passed your driving test back when you were 17, 18, and car insurance was really expensive.
Yeah.
For anyone under the age of, well, when I started driving, it was for anyone under the age of 30. And then as I got to 30, it was for anyone over the age of 40.
Those goalposts. And
now I'm 45. I mean, how old do you have to be now to get fucking cheap car insurance? When do they? It's, oh mate. You know, I thought, well, if I did go back to England, at least I'll be able to get cheap car insurance at last.
Well, I'll come to that in a sec, but just briefly, just so that you just to round this off, right? So, just because I forget, otherwise I'll forget.
No, go on. Sorry, mate.
Sorry. So what happened was, so because the insurance started playing silly buggers with me because I wasn't using my car and I didn't attach that telematics box, the insurance eventually came to an end. Now that's been sorted. I don't owe them anything, blah, 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 right? But in that time, I was getting threatening letters from the council telling me that my car was deemed to be abandoned. Now, the reason why they sent me that letter is because my car was parked in a parking space, totally legal, but because they're like gold dust around here, the neighbors notice if there's a car there for longer than a day. Do you know what I mean? So they'll report it to the authorities thinking, oh, that Mazda over there, because it was a Mazda 6 that I had. That's been parked there now for 2 weeks, blah, blah. Well, anyway, so I was advised to sawn it, which means to untax it and take it off the road, right? Now, I know you know that, but anybody across the pond might not, and many other Brits maybe as well. But the thing is, I sawned it, I took their advice, and in the process of me trying to get it off the road, I see my car had got a warning sticker put under the windscreen wiper in a see-through envelope with a pamphlet telling you what to do when your car is clamped, right? And I thought to myself, when I looked at it, I thought when I pulled the leaflet, I thought, why are they sending me a pamphlet for a clamped car when my car's not clamped? I remember checking. Now, according to them, this is months ago now, this has all been going on now for months. And according to them, they sent me photo proof that the car was clamped on the 30th of August, which was a Tuesday, when I know it wasn't clamped until the 2nd of September. I know it wasn't.
It's being clamped.
But they've sent me a photo proving it. Huh?
So, hang on. Who's clamped it?
Well, this is the next point. There was no number on the clamp, nothing. The DVLA, who are in charge of all things transport in this country, they told me that if they've got no record of any threats of a scrapping, because they've been telling me they want to scrap my car. These are people at the depot I managed to get hold of. So there's depot people that clamp. They source everything out in England. So they have a private company doing your clamping. They have a private company doing your scrapping of your car if you don't pay all that stuff. It's all outsourced. So when you're calling the main body thinking you're talking to the real people who can deal with your issue, they pass you on to the next department or the next company, and they know nothing. And so the DVLA, the main people over here regarding cars, they told me, no, there's an outstanding thing in here that's to do with the insurance, but there's nothing in here that says your car's about to be scrapped. 2 weeks ago, I was told the car was going to get scrapped last week. I've not been in touch with them since on the compound, so I'm presuming it's been scrapped.
Well, they've towed it now. They've towed your car.
They took it in, and when I eventually got hold of them, they said it's going up £21 a day for it to be on the compound, and I was up to 600 quid last Monday that I owed them. And here's the beauty of it all, right? They even turned it on its head and said to me, look, we're doing you a favor. We'll even scrap it for you for free. What? I don't want it scrapped. I want this situation resolved. You're not even listening to me.
Give me my fucking car back, you wankers.
Well, the thing is, does
I fucking spend on it?
Well, since when? I said this to the guy, right? And this is important. I said this to the guy. Well, it's not important because I'm talking, but I'm just saying, for me, it was important, right? I said to him, you know, you remind me of my old shopkeeper when I was a kid. And he went, what do you mean? And I said, well, if I was a penny short, so I couldn't afford my curly whirly once a day that I used to buy with me 20p, The shopkeeper would say to me, well, you're a penny short, and if I did that with everybody, I'd be broke at the end of the month. And I said, you lot do not ever look at it on a case-to-case basis and look at things like extenuating and mitigating circumstances, because people's situations have changed in the last 2 years. People have lost their jobs, they've lost their lives, for God's sakes, right? So I laid it on the line. Go on.
But it was public parking, right? Is there any ordinance that
I wasn't taxed
that? Oh, right.
Because they told me to untax it to get it off the road. So I followed their advice, untaxed it to get it off the road. And in that time when I wanted to get it off the road,
because it wasn't on private property, right.
But it wasn't illegally parked where it was parked. So while I was taxed, I was still getting letters telling me that my car was abandoned when it wasn't. So anyway, right from the start, I have a feeling I was being maneuvered. That's the point I'm making with all of this.
Yeah. That's what it sounds like. That's what I was going to say. That's what I was just going to say to you. It sounds like you just basically maneuvered into a position where, like, getting you to, oh yeah, you should sawn it then. You should declare it as off the road and take the tax off.
Right.
Yeah, but
then we could get you then for not taxed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well,
mental. And and of course I'll have a black name I'll have a black mark next to my name in any council database, as you will have as well, right? So the fact of the matter is, it doesn't surprise me. But I've been hawking this story around to a few people, and one or two of them have accepted it, but a few of them are going, nah, you're not that important, Sven, blah blah. So I'm not suggesting I am, but clearly they've sent me a photograph that's telling me it's been clamped on the 30th, when I know it wasn't clamped until the end of that week, because I went there in person. I saw it. I remember thinking, why am I getting a pamphlet about clamping when it's not clamped? Right?
Unfortunately,
but they're adamant.
Because you don't have anything, you don't have any pictures or anything.
I didn't take a photo. That was my mistake.
So, yeah. Well, you could say it's a mistake, but how on earth were you to know that they were going to, you were going to need it? You know,
this is it.
It's like we need to document and screenshot and photograph everything, man, to stay on top of it all, because.
And even then,
if
they could send you photographs that, to my knowledge, are definitely faked. And it's quite interesting, because there was a show on it here in the UK a few weeks ago called The Capture, and it talks about that. It was a BBC program. It was about 6 episodes or so, or even more than that, actually. And basically, they talk about how they can live edit people's faces and make them in a place where they aren't really. And basically falsely accuse people of stuff because they got video evidence when they actually weren't ever really there, right? It's just ironic that kind of program is coming up now on the BBC, and they're talking about it openly now. Makes you wonder, because I know they can do live editing. We've known that for years.
Yeah, it's not just. I mean, it's everything. And they've just done this Joe Rogan interview with. Steve Jobs, dead Steve Jobs, and it's this whole interview between the two of them.
Or is he?
It's completely AI generated, though, and there are little telltales about, that you're listening to something that's been generated, but it's pretty bloody good, and that whatever they're releasing is years behind what they're actually using now.
Absolutely. It's how the military works. They do the same. They're decades ahead.
Look at what we can do, but it's not really. It's not. You can still see that it's artificial intelligence, because we don't have anything that can really simulate reality completely 100% and completely fool you. We don't really have any of that yet. But I mean, maybe they don't. Oh, maybe they don't. Maybe they're just. It's all relying on, like I said, our perception, our collective perception of what's going on. If enough people believe it.
It's quite interesting, because in this program, The Capture, right, they show the process. It's all make believe, but they show the process of how they can, let's say, 100% forge, let's say, you or me, right? And what they've done is the only way it can be done is by having such a substantial collection of still shots of us that when you put them all together, you do then have the full spectrum of characteristics and expressions in the face and this, that, and the other, to then be able to have a 5-minute interview, let's say you and me, with neither of us are there, because what they've done is they've collated all the historical stuff that they've got.
They'd be able to do it with us because we've sat here in the front of the camera and done enough.
And they could do it with a lot of. Go on. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say I've been angry a lot, you know, especially in the early days, getting angry and having a go at people and getting really aggressive in the camera. They've got all of that as well. So, yeah.
They have. It's the same. It's the same people in charge of your banks, same people in charge of your monies that you get, whether they're monies from the state, you know, or whatever. The pressure is everywhere, isn't it? They've got you everywhere.
Well, whilst it might not be the same people physically, individually, the same individuals, it's the same type of person, which is a pathological. I'm totally there's pathologicals and there's normals. If you're a politician and you want to be a politician and you're thriving in politics, you're obviously some sort of pathological. Same in business, in especially in the corporate world. You have to be pathological to succeed.
Yeah.
If you don't completely disconnect from all morality and fucking empathy and compassion, all of the things that make us the special beings that we are, and actually, you know, you become a dead husk, a corporate entity.
Yeah.
Just do anything.
There's no good in employing nice guys. Nice guys don't get you productivity up. Nice guys don't get your, you know.
What we're told all the time at school, what was the programming? For me at school, the programming was nice guys finish last.
Always. It's not cool to be nice. You have to develop your elbow mentality to survive in this environment. No. If you change kids' perceptions towards their kids and they go to school, then you could actually, after 2 generations, reverse this, and you could.
I mean, this is all about what I started to talk about yesterday. The combative, not competitive, but people will fight over shit because it's this whole dog eat dog, survival of the fittest, only the strongest survive, that we were programmed with during our childhood and teens. All right, they're not programming kids with that now, but that's what we were programmed with.
They still are in a way, though, aren't they? Because they're still having the whole how can I put it, you know, that they're having internet and online stuff promoted to such an extent. We'll do it for you, just a click of a button, and everyone else will sort it for you, kind of thing. So there is still a push towards that thing of where people don't have to think for themselves that much, you know, or not too much, right? They don't have to use their discernment. They don't have to use their any social skills in that sense.
They're not able to use their discernment. I think that's what it is. They're not able to. Because if they were able to use their discernment, they'd realize that the people that they're following are full of shit.
Absolutely.
They're just, you know,
they're
just mouthpieces.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I bumped into somebody a few days ago who used to be my supervisor when I worked at the football club. You know the story of me getting not asked to come back to work, let's put it like that, right? Because I refused to get a test done. This was back in February of this year, right? Well, quite interesting. I bumped into this fella last week because it's a small world, you see. It's what people forget. The Germans have a lovely saying, you always see each other twice in life. So, but anyway, and he was saying to me, oh, how's it going, blah, blah. I've not seen you at the football club. And I said to him, are you telling me you didn't know about my situation? And I've been away from there since February. They kept it to themselves so that people couldn't kick up a fuss or ask questions. And that's what they did. They kept it all quiet because I was quite popular there. And I'm not bigging myself up, but I was good at my job. I loved it. And he was like, well, I didn't know about it. And I said, well, and do you still carry out tests at the football club? He said, we haven't done any tests since April. And he said, and even then it wasn't all departments that did it. And I went, well, great. So you got basically the club have edged me out there because what? Because of my involvement with the demos and all that sort of stuff and what I post and my social media and everything else. There must be a reason why they don't want me there, right? I was just sort of stirring the shit a little bit to see what his reaction was. So I've got no ambition of going back there. And he said to me, he's going to talk to them, whatever that means. But it's just nonsense. I mean, it's worse than Nazi Germany. It really is.
I mean, to be honest, mate, if it were me, I'd be like, dude, you can talk to them if you want. It's not going to make any difference. It's still, like,
it's not going to make any difference.
Even if they invited me back now, like, because I just the most frustrating thing for me is where the fact that nobody's got any backbone. Nobody's got any fucking backbone.
That's right. No courage.
Like, where have people's backbone gone? And it's all, at the end of the day, the last 2 years has made people really, you know who people are now, man. It's good in that respect. You know who people are now.
Yeah, you do know people. You know where we stand. And I just a few days ago, I had a little play around on my my YouTube channel, right? And I changed the picture on one of the videos. It's the main video on there when you click on my channel. And there's a photo of me talking to a member of the Bournemouth Echo. And she's mic'd up, interviewing me. And I'm stood 2 yards away from her with no mask on, obviously. Talking to her. And it was a photo that a friend did. Well, I didn't even notice it was being taken. But that picture tells 1,000 stories, never mind words. You know, that's where we're at. Because it's in the minds of the people, even if they're not walking around wearing them. I was watching the cycling racing yesterday, for example. All the staff now and all the teams are all starting to put those bloody masks on again. And everything else is starting to get revamped up again. You can see it happening. It's nuts. And people will go along with it again. You know, I said this to Jason when we were on the tour, right? I said that, you know, people might be all very full of conviction when they're talking to us at a stand down the high street in Leeds or wherever we were. But when push comes to shove and they're threatened with their jobs and livelihoods, they'll do the same. They'll resort back to type. They will. Most people will, unless they themselves narrowly escape death and they make the connection, or they've lost someone and they make the connection. But if they don't really truly make that connection, it will be the same as. Nothing will change. What are you going to do? Nuts, mate. That's the feedback I got from the tour. I wanted to do a show on that as well, actually do a proper couple of hours and really go through the feedback and, you know, what we, you know, it's a bit late now because it's a couple of months ago now, but I wanted to, everyone's been so busy, we haven't got around to it. But there was a lot of feedback that I'd like to have shared with a lot of people, really, because it's very crucial to understand the difference between globehead type behavior online and people who are genuinely interested out in the street. Two different people altogether, right? On the street, you've got more of a chance of a conversation. It's mainly down to you and how you initiate the conversation, and timing and all that. Online, forget it.
Mate, I don't know what to do. Like, I really don't. No, I've got you. Obviously, I've got these plans to get to Ecuador.
Ecuador,
yeah. Do you not know? You must know about that.
I don't know about anything, mate. The one thing I've learned since being in this awake community is I know nothing.
Here you go. This is just
I don't know.
How long is it? This video is 1 minute 52 seconds long. But this is what we're doing.
Okay.
We all know what's coming, what's just around the corner. We all know that we don't have long. We all know that we're connected. We all know that we have our soul tribes, possibly connected in every incarnation through the generations. and we are finding each other. And we are realizing that there is a better way. Going back to our roots, embracing ancient knowledge and ancient culture to live life better now. This is what we are doing with the Magic Treehouse. We are moving to Ecuador. We're going to work with the indigenous people, become self-sufficient, and no longer slaves to the system. Building a new community for a new way of life. The Magic Treehouse, Center for Healing.
So it's changed. It's not. I've got to redo that video. I'm just remaking that video at the moment, and because we're calling it Magia Sachawasi, which is Quechuan for Magic Treehouse. It's the Quechuan's base has got a lot of Spanish in it, I think, but yeah. But what it means is that I can't get a direct flight from here to Ecuador. I have to do a stopover. So it makes sense to do a stopover in the UK, so I can catch up with my cousins in Basingstoke and meet up with some people. Lee said I can stay with him. But like, I'll be honest, just every time I think about going to England, going to the UK, my anxiety levels go through the fucking roof. I'm like, whoa, but look what's going on there, man. Do I really want to go over there and risk getting stuck?
Well, at the moment, you've got a chance to travel back and forth and all that because all the restrictions are dropped. So
at the moment,
well, we've only got the here and now, mate, haven't we?
Yeah.
You know, we've only got the here and now. We can talk about and speculate about the future and what's gone in the past, but at the end of the day, you know that, I know that. But yeah, we have to think a little bit ahead. But while you've got the opportunity, I guess now's the option. Now, this side of Christmas, let's say, don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? You know, I think something else is going to come. I've been saying this for a little while now because you can see it on the telly. That's why I keep my eye on the TV and these events and stuff. I leave it on mute, but I watch the pictures. You can see much more by just watching the pictures, not hearing what they're talking about, right? So, when were you thinking of going there? Though, roughly, what's your time frame? Do you know?
To get over to the UK in the next sort of few weeks, that depends on how long it takes to get the dogs' passports.
All right.
It also depends on, because that's the added anxiety is taking 2 dogs with me.
Mm. How old are they? Your dogs?
8 and 11, or 9 actually. Probably closer to 9 and 12.
Well,
but I'm not leaving them. You know,
it's options, isn't it? It's like it's good to have an option.
That's not an option. Leaving them.
No, that's not what I meant. What I meant is going over abroad and doing something in Ecuador.
Well, the Ecuador thing, we start our fundraiser this weekend, 24-hour stream. I meant to say actually, you're invited to come on.
Okay.
We're want to get as many people involved as possible, and just over 24 hours, do a number of chats and shows or whatever with whoever wants to get involved.
I'll learn a couple of jokes.
It's all to basically launch the fundraiser for this, because the what we've got is this 100-year plan to work alongside the Ali Shungu Foundation, which has been established for 20 years now, and they work with the Quechuan people. So preserving their culture and traditions and way of life, and doing what they can, basically helping the Quechuan people. So what we're going to do is, the plan is to be like a symbiotic community that lives where the property that we're getting has got like 35 acres of land with it, which is all, it's 6 or 9 acres of protected forest, and there's like 25 acres that it's cleared to build on, to construct on, and they've got all the water put in and everything. It's ready to go. So that's where we're gonna build like earth ships, self-sustaining, eco-friendly houses. I don't know if you've seen them before.
I've seen variations of, I've seen variations of, but
so
go on, sorry, mate.
Yeah, variations on the earth ship that they're doing in America. So not using rubber tires, we're going to use hempcrete. We're going to basically build these eco-friendly habitations, and just because the way it's all going, man, we need to break away.
It doesn't look good, does it? It doesn't look good.
And we can't do anything. Like, none of us. The only other option I see is we, as a group, we all proclaim ourselves as alive and capable, basically, legally. We all get proof of life certificates and all of that, and we present ourselves to whoever, the government, whatever, as capable, and reclaiming our right to present ourselves, and as sovereign beings. They can't argue if we've got the upper hand.
Yes.
So there's all these stories about. Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, sorry, mate, but again, before I forget, I just wanted to throw a caveat in there, because you're talking about legally, right? And legally, yeah, you're absolutely right, by the way. And there's something I can tell you about that as well a little bit later if you want. But regarding demos a couple of years ago, we got hijacked on that coach and stuff, remember? For 3 hours down in Hillingdon train station. But anyway, getting back to what you were saying, the problem with the legally thing is the legal network is superseded by the people that do all the handling. So we've got a bit of a problem there, because yes, you might have a shot legally, because every now and then they feel obliged to let the good guys win here or there, because they have to make it out that there's a bit of equilibrium and a democratic judiciary process going on, right? But in reality, the Crown Prosecution Service in this country has a crown in their badge, in their emblem. And we know that the UK Crown, the sovereignty, is superseded by even just the Masonic lodges, right? So we know that. And so we have to be careful that if we're going to be putting our hopes into maybe a legal system that maybe thinks the way we would hope it would, because that's in an ideal world, that's how that should be the function, to bloody give the small man or the small woman a bit of a voice that we've got otherwise no chance or no hope in hell. Well, it's like with me at the football club. Who could I go to complain about me not getting a job or losing my job because I wasn't going to get a test? Because they're all following the same agenda at the higher levels. So, and that includes legal. That includes your judiciary. That's the problem. And Voynich made a good point earlier about geographically, there's hardly an escape possible. And I agree with him. All land is owned. All land is accounted for. There's nothing accidental that you might come across and go, oh, we'll have those 10 trees over there. No one's put a fence around it. It'll all be owned.
But the point is, it's presumptively owned. It's not owned.
It is. You're right.
It's stolen.
Of course it is. All of it is.
I guess this is where I've just got the biggest issue, man. I've got the biggest problem, and I don't know what to do about it, because the answer, what seems to be the answer, is the answer that they would have, you know, and it's what they want, they want us to do.
Yeah.
Right. So this is what cracks me up about all these people that go on about the Galactic Federation and all this bollocks. We've got some fucking aliens all sat there in the wings waiting to do the good thing for us. But seriously, it really does look like the only people that we have to count on and to rely on is ourselves.
Always, man. Especially now.
It's the only people. So what the fuck are we going to do?
Well,
like, just keep. So like this is the. So if you're going to go with a biblical paradigm, we have to just soldier on. And have faith that the path is going to be cleared as we're walking. You know?
Blind faith is not a good thing, though, is it?
No, blind faith isn't. But if we all look back on our lives and what's happened, we all have to admit that there has to have been some sort of divine intervention at some point in our lives that has kept us here and put us where we are now, and you know, we've ended up as the people we are now because of some really funky shit that's gone on in our lives.
Perhaps.
And there's been some sort of divine intervention at points that have meant that we've met people and we've come across things and we've been pulled out of situations. And for me, you know, I've nearly died 4 times.
Well, I think maybe there's such thing as a design intervention as opposed to a divine intervention. I think the reason why I'm using that word carefully is because divinity would suggest a godlike kind of thing. And I do think we've been designed, but I'm not too sure that those who designed us in the way that we would like it to be. I think it's something to do with us being able to serve the system that we are slaves to right now as we talk. I think that was all set up together in unison and in tandem.
But isn't that a quite a nihilistic perception of overall reality? Because then if that's the case, then what's the fucking point in doing anything? Because we're absolutely powerless.
Okay, but nihilistic is like calling someone a flat earther. Yeah, while I do believe in flat earth, I'm not saying the earth is perfectly flat, but what I'm saying is it's not a spinning water ball in an ever expanding vacuum of space. Well, with nihilism,
globe denier.
Yeah. Well, the point I make with the, after looking at the old world, while looking at all the old world stuff, which I'm going to continue doing, one of the things that became clear to me was that, yes, those buildings were built. No, not by us, if we're to believe the history books, because we didn't have the technology, etc., etc., etc. We know all the arguments, the logistical arguments and everything else. So who did build that? And by the way, where did the first humans come from? So if we think Adam and Eve didn't happen, and if we know the Big Bang didn't happen, because that's nonsense, and we also know evolution is total nonsense. We didn't start from a one-celled amoeba and work our way through all the different creatures via giraffe to get to human, right? Then yes, we are. There is a some sort of design in place. Is it divinity like we are suggesting? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know, because I think the world is a hellish place.
Maybe divinity. But maybe divinity is a label that's given to unconditional love. The So we're told that God is love.
Only if you're reading those books.
Books or scriptures?
Well, scriptures, books, anything with some writing on it.
But it's not just, yeah. Well, yeah. Okay.
Right.
Anything with writing on it, yeah.
Anything with
I mean,
writing
everything that we've got, anything we've got has come from written text. Where if we go back 2,000 years, everything that we heard was oral. Everything that we learned came down orally.
So we're told. But did you know that the schools didn't start, or school systems, education didn't start to the 1880s? So when did all those people learn all that reading and writing? Thousands of years ago. Wouldn't have happened.
No, well, dude, I was saying, mate, this has been one of my arguments about stuff written before the before the 1900s, basically. Who is it written for? What the fuck? Because nobody could read.
Yeah, and the first
and what are the chances? What are the chances that all the lads that hung out with Jesus all just happened to be writers as well?
Well, not, and also, what are the chances?
But they were carpenters and fishermen. Wow, literate carpenters and fishermen. Like,
yeah. But then you could go to a village in the middle of some country somewhere on earth, and they would have never heard of this guy and that story. They would have heard of their version of it. So it's always a thing. Go on.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's mate. The fact
I don't think there's an either or, something in between.
For me, maybe it's just the child in me absolutely fucking point blank refuses to accept that we're fucked and we're powerless. There's nothing we can do. We have no powers. We have no special powers. We were designed by something that had a different intent for us, maybe to just be slaves.
Maybe. But that doesn't stop us attempting to change something, though. Whatever our what do they call it in English? However we started off, right? It doesn't really matter in that sense. Well, it does and it doesn't, because I don't think we'll ever get the answer to it. We don't want to be chasing our own tails for the rest of our lives trying to figure it out. But one thing we can do is, and I said this on a video a couple of weeks ago, I'm one of those people, like you, by the way. I do believe we can change the world. I do believe it. I don't believe we should have that opinion where we say, well, what's the bloody point? We can't. By the way, I was playing devil's advocate earlier when we were talking back and fro about what we were talking about, right? Because I do believe we can do something. Otherwise, what's the point? What is the point there if we don't think that? So do I believe I can change my daughter's perception, who's 12? Yes, I do. I know I can, right? Now, if everybody takes that stance, who either has kids or has friends with kids or has siblings who have children, and you have regular contact with them, well, why can't grown-ups like us use those opportunities to drop a little bomb here or there? Not literally, although I'd love to with some kids, but and kind of see where people are at, and every now and then use an opportunity. It's all about timing, mate, and it's about effort. I'm not saying you don't have any, but there are plenty out there who hang out in echo chambers, but they don't do any work outside of their online commitments. They just don't. They don't hold a conversation in a shop with a shopkeeper. They don't mention something a bit louder than normal so that the people with the kids next to them can overhear accidentally the conversation about how they shouldn't see needles from 20 odd miles away from Bournemouth Beach, right? That sort of stuff.
Dude, I've been doing it since 2016.
Right, me too. And I don't stop. I do it every day. To this day, I get on people's nerves. But guess what? You lot get on my nerves too. That works both ways. So you're going to have to suck it up, right? Yeah, we can change the world. Absolutely. And it starts with your own. But yeah, of course we can change the world. I don't believe it's like saying that everything's been discovered. No, it hasn't. That's the globe thing that they've got us thinking. You can't do that. It's pointless. Just pay your taxes and go to work. That's the only thing that benefits you. It's the only thing that makes sense in your life.
And don't go anywhere fucking near the 66 parallel.
Right. And also believe that we're corkscrewing the sun at 500,000 miles an hour as well, plus the 67,000 miles an hour. Believe that as well. They've got us believing the most ridiculous things, but because the majority have bought into it, us fighting it makes us look like fringe members of society, because that's what they're trying to achieve, isn't it? you know, and then it makes it difficult for us. We start questioning our own approaches then. Well, you know, is there any point? Fucking right there is. Fucking right there is. Excuse my French. I normally never swear online, but this gets me really riled because yes, there is a point. There always is a point. And if you reach one person, or if it's just a reminder to yourself, you know, it's always good to be aware of stuff, even if you can't think you might change things or anything like that. But it's certainly good to know you're surrounded by shite. Right?
I mean, that's one thing. I'm lucky enough to have been able to witness, and you know, and had a couple of people confirm it to me and say it to me that I personally have actually, I was the one that woke them up. I was the one that, like my mate, Sonny, who ridiculed me. He's the best one. He's the best one because he just, the way he used to ridicule me on Facebook, just constantly ribbing me, ridiculing me about everything that I talk, anything that I said. He just basically say, "Oh yeah, and you know this guy's a flat earther." Blah, 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 and
right.
just calling me a complete idiot all the time. And then one day I managed to get into to watch a video, and I think it was Eric DeBay that I sent him 200 proofs, and I said, look, just do me a favor and just don't rib me again until you've watched this, and watch it, just watch it, listen, like watch it till the end and listen. And I didn't hear from him for like 3 months, and then when I did see him, he was literally, it was like, oh my god, the fucking earth is flat.
Right now,
and he like within a year, he went from thinking right, yeah, okay, the earth is flat, but that's because we're in a petri dish and there's these alien scientists doing an experiment on us, right, from outer space or whatever, to then accepting maybe there's a creator with a higher purpose that's created everything that's going on, and it's all with a higher purpose. So I mean, have you watched Archaics? Have you listened to Jason Brashears?
Some of his stuff. Sometimes it's a bit too, the Germans would call it schwere Kost, which means a bit of heavy nutrition at times. You have to be in the right mindset, for me personally.
Yeah. No, I totally get you, because the thing is,
he makes a lot of good points.
He reels off a lot of information. He gives a lot of data, and he's really good at cataloging things, you know. And he's got the books. I've got no access to those books. There's no way I'll ever be able to access those books, not at the moment, unless I come into a very large sum of money, because some of those books that he's reading or has read from, it's like I don't know how much it's worth, his library of books, but the books that he says are up there, printed in the 16, 17, 1800s. You know, you can't just get your hands on those books anymore.
He's also been doing it for decades as well. He's been looking at this stuff, you know. 26
years.
Right.
26
Get a lot of books
years
together in that time,
man. There are questions like that. Paul Cook thinks he's a Freemason, and there's other people think he's a Freemason plant. He's a show, you know, controlled opposition, whatever.
I need proof for that.
The thing is, yeah, I mean, I'm not taking it off the table though.
I never take it off the table with anybody,
the access that he's had to certain books.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe
that we're never going to get access to, and just some of the knowledge that he has. So I wouldn't take it. I've not taken it off the table. How connected?
No,
like, it could be, right? It could absolutely, totally be, because this is how far ahead they plan. This is how far ahead they've looked. So if this looking glass technology really is real and true, and I think I'm prepared to believe that in some way it's possible. Looking at, if you get people to remote view future timelines, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's like, right, we'll get this guy and we know he's like this, we'll get him into prison and we'll keep him there, for 26 years, and we'll just make sure that all he's doing is he's reading. We'll just get him reading. Just get him reading. All you got to do is put him in a cell and get him reading, and that guy, he won't stop. Give him everything that he needs to absorb all this information, and then we can release him. I'm just messing. I'm just going crazy with possibilities of,
Well, let's not
possible. But
yeah,
go on.
I was just going to say, let's not forget they have all resources at their disposal, all, including money. Money means nothing when people fall for this whole money thing. Oh, they spent $6 billion on an aircraft carrier. Oh, the help for India, even though they've got a space program. When you hear them arguing like that, you think it's wrong on all levels, because the money doesn't matter, because all the governments that are handled and owned by the ones who also own the banks, well, the ones who own the banks, they can just decide how many figures to free up on their monitor and send off tokens wise, and that's it, done. It doesn't matter. On low level, on our level, money is important because that's what we need to survive. But on their level,
it's our energy. It's our energy. Money is our energy.
It's not just our energy, it's also our psychological sanity.
Yeah.
It's everything, because we've been brought up like that. We've been born into the system that's been set up for our purpose, to glean the most out of us that's possible for the powers that shouldn't be. That's how I see it. And getting back to your thing about the Mason thing and stuff like that, we got enough people within the flat Earth community who I have my suspicions about, right? Just by what I've heard them hear them say over the past 3-4 years, how they've contradicted themselves. I've got a really good long-term memory, funny enough, even though I've forgotten how many sugars I put in my tea. So that's a bit of a problem, because I don't forget that sort of stuff. There are a few of us who do have long memories. I'm sure you're one of them as well, right? We don't forget what was said 3, 4, 5 years ago. Just like we don't forget people's behaviors the last 2 years. That includes family members who are now kissing up to me, for example, or whatever. And I'm supposed to forget all the hardships that I've been enduring. Not just me, but all of us of our ilk, right? The ones who know there's something nasty going on.
Hey, listen, just be, if I were you, right, I'd milk it, because I don't have any family members kissing up to me and saying, "Oh shit, Rich, really sorry, mate. It looks like you were fucking right from the start." Not a single thing you have said has had to be retracted, Rich.
No.
Not a single fucking thing you said back in February 2020 has had to be retracted. Every single thing that you said has come true. All of it. Vaccines, lockdowns, 2 years before anything actually happened, and we got out of it, and look, boom, Ukraine war.
Yeah.
Actually, we didn't say anything. We didn't predict Ukraine. What we said was it would be climate change. We didn't predict Ukraine popping in there. Ukraine
but
just seemed to slip in, but otherwise it would have just gone straight to climate change.
Yeah, and that's a bit too boring. You want a little war in there, because not just that, you want to also keep forming people's perceptions of that region. You also want to keep people in their heads that the Russians are some sort of bad entity, right? It's all that nonsense. And you also want to justify price hikes over here as well, by the way. You want to explain why food and petrol's become unaffordable. What
skips over everybody's kind of awareness, or they don't seem to think about it, because they say, oh yeah, America's just approved another 13 billion to send, and that makes how much have we sent now? 54? No, probably 88 now. Dude, I've been keeping track of it in my mind. They've sent well over 100 billion in weapons and aid, right? But it's not that they've sent 100 over 100 billion over to Ukraine for them to spend on weapons and aid. There's been money, cash money that they've been sending. That's how Zelensky's kept up his coke habit. But
yeah,
the money is going into the pockets of the fucking military industrial complex, which is based in the US.
well,
Raytheon,
it
Boeing.
doesn't. And again, it doesn't matter where it's based. We have BEA systems. The Germans have their Pondons. The French have theirs. We all have ours. It doesn't really matter.
And it's all coming out. It's all coming out of the taxpayers. Well, it's coming out of the taxpayers' coffers, basically. That they're taking it out of the trust, and then getting the taxpayers to repay it.
Yeah. Well,
so
it's control, mate. It's control. It's unequivocal control. That's what this is all about. And people's minds. It's all about the minds and hearts, isn't it? You know, you hear that phrase being said before.
Hearts and minds. That was the first time, dude. 1990, whenever it was, in Iraq. We're gonna win over the hearts and minds of people.
Yeah.
With shock and awe.
That's what I was just going to say.
Shock and awe, hearts and minds. Go on.
Yeah. No. But that's not a military term. It's a psychological term, right? So before General Schwarzkopf was blurting on about his script there that was written for him by some psychologist, it's an old terminology, hearts and minds. That's what it's all about. If you win people over and you make them think by way of Munchausen disease by proxy, which means tell people often enough they're ill so that they'll believe they're ill, right? Then you've got them. That's it. Done. That seed is there forever. You're never going to totally rid. So that's why you'll get reactions when you're talking about flat earth or whatever from people who might believe in it even, but they feel embarrassed to talk about it because that indoctrination is so deep with them. And that's what I was going to get back to that point before I forget. Happened to a very close friend of mine who she owned up to me that she actually thinks the earth is flat and that. And we went out and had a little look and stuff like that. So she kind of knows. But guess what she said to me? She said to me, but please don't tell anyone yet until I'm ready. Right? So the stigma is massive that prevents people from looking at topics like that, for example. The stigma is massive. Right. Why? Because people are too worried about what their families and their neighbors think of them.
Took me 3 years.
You know,
it took me 3 years to come out, to actually say to people, that they're. Well, I was just saying, the Earth is not. It's not a globe. Like it seems to be observably flat.
Well,
it's definitely not a globe.
Not a spinning one.
Well, actually, no. Do you know what? I think I was in the flat Earth. I was calling it. I was saying, it's a flat Earth. It's a flat Earth. But I wasn't doing that for too long because of the stigma that got attached to the label, the fact that people just those two words shut people down. Yeah. It's as effective as conspiracy theorist or conspiracy theory.
And a lot of this, a lot of these things that are happening at the moment, where there's agendas being pushed within the flat Earth community as well. You know what I'm on about without me divulging too much, right? Where people are talking about topics where it's nothing to do with flat Earth. It's to do with something totally different. And you have to ask yourself the question, why are these topics suddenly rearing their ugly heads when we thought they were sorted 4 or 5 years ago, whatever. But getting back to my actual point, a lot of what we hear in our community, for example, or what the topic of the day or month shall be, I'm sure is instigated from elsewhere. Right. And I'm sure what they're doing is they're funneling a lot of people down a direction. This is the powers that shouldn't be, to then ascertain what everybody's thoughts are, where everybody stands. It's all about data collection. We have to remember that as well. Right. Data collection and data harvesting is one of the businesses ever. You know, anybody who's ever worked in a call center or knows a little bit about supervising that or anything like that, they'll know, they'll understand how much an address is worth, how much people's details are worth on the market. Right. It's money changing hands, quite literally. And with that information, they can preempt your steps, not just know where you are, right? That's where we're at. That's where we're at with all of this. So I think a lot of it is done on purpose so that we go along with it and people post their shit on Facebook. They post their opinions here. They talk about it in group chats there. Everything, by the way, is being monitored because your phone picks up everything at all times, right? And that's what's happening. We're being led off the edge of a cliff. And people aren't noticing it because they're in free fall. And for them, it appears like nothing's happening. A bit like astronauts. So yeah, that's where I feel. That's where I mean,
we've been played, man.
Totally.
Like the truth community. I mean, the truth community has been totally played.
Yeah.
Because of because they knew that we'd. Well, we chuck everything out of the box. Then, you know, once you, like I said a couple of years ago, once I realised if I realised a couple of toys were broken in my toy box, but I didn't know how many toys were broken, I'd empty my toy box onto the fucking floor and go through them one by one. And so that's how I feel about my beliefs and, you know, everything. It's like, right, everything that's been programmed into me needs to be looked at. Absolutely everything needs to be looked at and considered.
Absolutely everything.
Critical thinking, man. Gathering more than one or two opinions about something or teachings about something. Looking at if there's 4 or 5 or 6, looking at all of them, and saying, wow, why is there 6 different perceptions of this thing?
It's getting used to thinking like that as well, Rich, right? So it's getting used to questioning everything immediately. And when I say question everything, I mean really right down to the root of it. So if someone talks to me, for example, without me wanting to trigger anybody or anything like that, but if I, for example, talk to somebody and they talk very energetically and enthusiastically about the Bible, for example, I won't sit there and dismiss it. By the way, I was brought up a Catholic. I've been an altar boy, about my communion, my confession, all that stuff. I've done it all in the Catholic Church, so I understand. So where was I going with this? Right, yeah, I have to question anything, all literature, for example.
Yeah.
In this case, it happens to be the Bible. It could have been, I don't know what, the Bill of Rights, the American Bill of Rights. Who actually wrote that? For example, right? You don't have any evidence of it. Yeah. It's a piece of paper that's in your bloody school books with an alleged photo of it, or our Magna Carta here in England, or whatever, whichever one you want, or Martin Luther.
Adam Hancock signed it, didn't he?
Right. So, but the thing is, you have to check and resort. You have to also research your own sources as well.
And dude, it's not just that, right? It's things like when I looked into the ages of people when these things happened. Like when the Declaration of Independence was signed, the ages of those people that were signing it and how young some of them were, but they're being portrayed as these wise old men, the fathers of America, the forefathers of America.
All nonsense.
They're just kids.
All of it nonsense.
They're younger than us. They're like the oldest one was George Washington, I think, was the oldest, wasn't he?
Well, so we're told.
Yeah. So, but
did he even exist, George Washington? Do we even know that? No. We don't. That's the truth. It's awkward, I know, but it is the truth. We do not 100% know that. We cannot. Right? We can't.
Dude, when you get down to brass tacks, really, we can't count on anything told to us before.
Nothing.
Nothing at all. The Second World War. Well, the Second World War.
Even the last 250 years, I would go back to the beginnings of the Industrial Revolution. I think the Industrial Revolution of the 1800s was a front to give them the opportunity to roll out already existing technology. That's what that was for. There's no way you built all those train tracks and aqueducts and viaducts in that fucking time. With who? People couldn't even read
the thing is, and the people that are there to say, hang on a second, you didn't construct that 2 years ago. What are you talking about? It's been there ever since I've been here. They're all gone. All the dissenters, you know, we say, wow, look at the size of those. Look at how many asylums were there. What? How many crazy people were there? Well, maybe all the crazy people were just the people that were saying, what the fuck are you talking about? This is bullshit history. Yeah, exactly. Us. The basically us, the versions of us back then. Maybe even the souls that we're carrying now, you know, were involved. That's how I think about it.
That's interesting. And that is one point of it. And this is why this is so multi-layered, right? So you've got that bit for the likes of us, but then you've also got to question the buildings. They weren't built to be asylums. because they weren't built by us.
No.
So they've repurposed it. So they knew what they needed the buildings for. They knew it from the start when they reoccupied everything.
Do you know what they're like as well, mate? I think that they're doing that was kind of a rubbing our noses in it.
Yeah.
Like saying, yeah, ego. Well, there you go and live in your history then. And we'll just tell everybody it's a fucking mental asylum.
Have you ever heard of Oddfellows?
Yeah, I've heard of Oddfellows.
Right. Oddfellows is the financial wing, if you like, of the Masonic lodges. And they own, not just owned past, but own to this day, all those buildings that were listed as asylums, clinics, schools, the ones that we're talking about, the haunted looking ones. They're all owned by Oddfellows, and they are their symbol of the 3 interlinking rings. Right, and you'll see it on some churches as well. I did a video a few weeks ago when I was walking around Boscombe, and one of the churches, no, it was in Christchurch actually, and one of the churches had these 3 rings interlinked, printed on the front, engraved in the front of their gable. In other words, to tell everybody who's in charge here, who owns the buildings, who put the cladding on, who's telling you they were churches when they never were, etc., etc. Right, so that is important to know. And like I said, it's important to realize that the first schools were little parish schools attached to churches in the 1860s. Before that, people had no education at all. None. People couldn't read and write. And what numbers were they
their education to read and write came from the clergy.
Right.
It didn't come
from the church.
Schools.
Right.
Yeah.
To have the indoctrination ready and going. Right. Your authority figures are your church and your councillor or whoever's in charge of your village. That's it. Your parish, you know, I mean, it's only recently that you still have lords and you still have bishops, or you did till recently, sat in the House of Lords in England, you know. But yeah, education is the key for me. Before that, for thousands of years, we weren't reading and writing, and suddenly in the 1800s, everybody picks up a pen. What nonsense. That's what, you know, so I think we didn't begin as a civilization until the 1800s for that reason alone. We don't hang around thousands of years before we start developing an alphabet and stuff. That doesn't happen that long. Just doesn't take that long.
No, but I exactly. So I don't think that we've only been around, you know, I think we've been around for a long time. That's why I like, that's why I like Jason's theory that this is some sort of a simulation. There is a physical aspect to the simulation. There is you know, even if it's just purely through perception, there's a physical aspect to this, everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
There is. We have our reality.
I realized a couple of years ago that this is all about the evolution of consciousness. So I said a little while ago, you know, what if let's think say that the Greek gods were true, and 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago, the Greek gods were true. It was humans, but the Greek gods were human. But humans with
1 second
with full power, basically with their full ability, with their memories of everything, with, you know, living for a really long time, able to manifest with thought, and through jealousy and basically anger and pride, we fucked up. We fucked everything up. And so it had to be started again, where we don't have as much, you know, we have a memory of that. So we know, you know, we're able to sometimes read each other's thoughts and predict things and have visions, you know, but in order for us to be able to have that sort of power again, We need to be in full control of our emotions, which are a byproduct of being a physical manifestation of the light kind of thing. You know, being in this physical body, in order for this physical body to work, all these chemical processes take place which cause hormones to go off, and you know, just the complexity of it with the heart. Emotion is the driving force of the, you know, of energy in motion, emotion. So
of course, and the powers that shouldn't be know that. That's what's being played on.
But maybe the powers that shouldn't be is all part of the thing, you know?
Right.
It's all part of duality. It's all so our task is to recognize duality and reach non-duality, where we're able to observe the duality in motion. We watch the yin and the yang, positive and negative, light and dark.
Sun and
moon. We don't take part in it, you know? We just watch it because it's a natural process within this realm. It's how this realm operates, is through electromagnetism. So that's a positive and negative charge. Yeah. So what they've done, the powers that shouldn't be, they've somehow flipped everything. So now all of our energy and focus and attention goes into this thing called money. And money makes the world go round. No, it fucking doesn't. We do. We make the world go round.
Absolutely.
The blood, sweat, and tears that we put into everything. That's what makes the world go round.
That's an important point for people to realize when they say things like, isn't the world screwed? No, it's not. The world is fine. It's the people inhabiting it that are an issue, because they're the ones not coping with what they should be coping with in the way they should be coping with it, so that they don't have to cope. Right.
And that's only because of ignorance, which now getting to this day and age is willful in a lot of cases.
It's a manufactured ignorance as well, mate, because people are gaining very easy access to gadgetry. Everybody's got this feeling of being a mini Steven Spielberg. They can create their own content. Doesn't matter. I'm not on about YouTube now. I'm on about anybody, TikTok, whatever. My daughter does it. She's, you know, her phone is her teddy bear. Yeah. So, you know, and all kids of her age will be the same roughly, unless you're growing up somewhere where that is not the case. Right?
Oh, mate, right. I've not ever done this, but I can imagine. I can actually imagine what would ensue if you were to take away your kids' mobile phones, take away their smartphones.
I can tell you what happens.
You know,
I can tell you what happens.
World War III.
The kids freak out. That's what happens.
World War bloody III.
It's like my ex-wife does it with my daughter, for example, right? I sometimes can't get hold of my daughter for a week or two. And of course it aggravates me because I don't live there. I live in England. So I feel my ego gets in the way and I feel like, why aren't I being told? Right. So that I don't have to worry. But anyway, that aside, when I figure out that her phone was confiscated for a week or two, well, that's the new grounding. And it really hurts. She said, it's like she's forcing me to split up from my boyfriend.
Yeah.
They were the words that were used to compare it to the feeling she was going through when her phone was taken off her. So, it's become so easy for people to access their phone and like I say, get dumbed down by all of it. You know, nobody will remember a phone number off the top of their heads. It's all speed dial, you know.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation before in the past. What would you do if your car broke down and your phone broke down, but there's a phone box there? Who would you call? Don't know. I don't have anyone's number. I said, no, but you've got 1,000 friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
That's how the world is upside down, because the real information and the real stuff is of no interest to people. It's all the superficial bullshit. And it's supposed to be like that.
Well, people have become complacent.
They're made complacent. They've been made complacent.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're born into it. My daughter's born into this. She knows nothing better than this. She doesn't know that she can't remember the time pre-internet. You and me can.
Yeah.
She doesn't know that.
I remember when Google started really becoming a thing, and everybody started saying, I don't know, Google it.
We used to use Yahoo in the office. We used to use Yahoo, and then when it flipped to Google around about 9/11, funny enough.
not just Yahoo. There was what was the Mr. Jeeves?
Jeeves, yeah, Ash Jeeves.
Ask Jeeves, that was it. Yeah, that was the one I used to use in the office. I used Ask Jeeves.
We used that, and we had our own company internet called Intranet. So internet.
Oh yeah, the intranet.
You know,
yeah.
So the principles of internet have been around for decades, right? Because it's the same thing. Certain, people connected up to one system. The internet is the same as that. Of course, it's all controlled. You think it isn't, or some think it isn't. It bloody well is. Everyone's being monitored. Just because your phones are nice and shiny doesn't mean to say we don't live in a totalitarian environment. We bloody well do. All I have to do is go out of my door. We have facial recognition cameras on the top of tall poles here in Bournemouth, all over the place. Facial recognition. Why would you need that?
It's like, like
everywhere.
Are we in America now? What's going on?
It's not even America.
Tokyo.
China. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. You go to an ATM and draw some money out. You've got a camera in there filming your face the whole time. It's there for your protection, of course.
Do you know the funny thing about that, though, is when you need it, when you expect it to have recorded something because it wasn't you that was at the fucking cash point, it was the person that had stolen your card. Oh, no, that camera wasn't switched on.
No, funny that.
Actually, a lot of them aren't actually recording.
No,
the camera's switched on, but they're not recording. It's a lottery as to whether you get one that's recording or not. But I'm pretty sure that it's not quite as fucking CSI Miami as their abilities. I suppose if they want you bad enough, maybe. But if that's the case, how the fuck do any criminals? How are there any criminals still on the street? Unless it just means, well, clearly they don't want them bad enough. But
because they have to keep up with the narrative that resources are stretched, mate. And don't forget also, there's another video I put out about a year ago now, actually, when I questioned the whole narrative about stretched resources, because there were a couple here in Boscombe that got arrested in a shop, and they turned up with 3 police cars, 2 meat wagons, and about 10 cops in the space of 2 minutes.
Hang on. Yeah, hang on. Thought you had stretched resources.
Stretched with resources. No. You got a bit of Bonnie and Clyde here. They don't even have water pistols on them. And he's sending in the SAS. What's going on here? So I took a quick video of it and I explained that, because people, again, it's in people's faces. They'll listen to the news narrative telling everybody that the police are stretched, NHS are stretched, which explains why you can't get a bed or get a new liver or have your cancer removed and all that nonsense that they tell us isn't possible. And yet here they are in uniform rocking up, right? And you're like, they've got time for their TikTok dances, as we remember back in the day, right? Now, so you can see there's a contradiction in terms of what we see and what we're told. And for some reason, people cannot make that connection. Right? Some of us can, but I didn't 10 years ago. I had a suspicion, but I can't say I really, really had an understanding of it. I do now, kind of. I'm still learning, but I'm ridding myself, like you said earlier, Rich. I'm still getting rid of all my fucking indoctrination of years and years and years. Getting rid of all of that takes ages. I still keep an eye on my football club. I shouldn't. You know what I mean? Things like that.
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, man. Keeping an eye on your football club. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
it's like music, isn't it? You're not going to stop listening to music just because they're all kind of signed a dotted line.
Oh, do you know what? I kind of have.
I have as well a bit. That's why I do my own now.
I kind of have. It's yeah. I don't listen to music like I used to. That's what I used to do. I didn't watch TV. I listened to music all the time.
Everything I do now is skeptically. I mean, right? I always do everything now with suspicion. When I know the news is all bull anyway. I just watch that just to see what the narrative is. That's all I watch that for, right? But with music, I don't listen to the stuff I used to listen to with the same joy. No.
Well, it's like we
Not the
can't
same.
enjoy anything anymore because we
No.
see too much behind it all.
Yeah, we know.
It's oh yeah, well that's all glitzy and right, but we know what's behind all that, and unfortunately, it takes all the shine off of the thing that they're presenting.
It
So
does,
right,
mate.
so you're just basically polishing a turd.
Well, not even a turd, a frigging Frankenstein. Because this is the thing, right? I watched a little hangout last week. I think it was Mike Williams was chatting to Mark Devlin, and you know their favourite topics are the Paul is dead thing, particularly with Mike Williams, and with Mark Devlin, it's mainly like the handled aspect of the music industry and all that. So he goes into more depth in a more bigger general way, right? But anyway, they were talking about the Beatles, of course, right? And the Beatles, I grew up listening to the Beatles. My dad is from that city. He grew up in the 60s. He was a teenager. He was there when it was all kicking off. He's from there, right? And I remember listening to the Beatles album. By the time I was 11 years of age, I knew all their lyrics off by heart, all of them, right? Now, I don't have a single Beatles CD. And I can't remember the last time I listened to them. Because even if only some of what they said is true, it kills it, really. The fairy tale is not the fairy tale, obviously, for local working class kids who made it big by happenstance. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
John Lennon was an art student. You don't become an art student in Liverpool if you've got no money. So, yeah, all that stuff. And when you scratch under the surface a little bit, Brian Epstein, a manager, dying at the age of 32, interesting age, and all that stuff. The
whole Paul McCartney thing as well.
It's mad. It's mad. There's a bit of truth to it. I think some of it, I think they're onto something, but I don't buy it all. But the point is, all these bands, well, they're not bands, are they? They're commodities. The Beatles are an asset. You know, they're still earning millions and millions to this very day.
That's why they all got knighted.
Well, the ones that weren't.
Well, Paul McCartney, like Sir Paul McCartney got knighted because he is an asset. He's
triple knighted, and doesn't he got about 3 knighthoods or something, that bloke?
I don't know.
Yeah, you've actually got levels within knighthoods. Did you know that? Oh, absolutely. There's a hierarchy amongst the sirs as well, you know. Bad, isn't it?
Well, just the worst thing about it is just the gall of these people that have put themselves so, like, they're just so entitled.
And they forget where they come from.
The fact is that our royalty, the British royalty, is an illegitimate line of royalty anyway.
It's all illegitimate.
They should not be. And yeah, it is all illegitimate. I really. So Michelle Gibson's theory about 1946 and 1496. This she thinks, you know, something happened. They did to rewrite the timelines, rewrite history. I don't think they've gone back in time to do it. I don't believe it's possible to go back in time and change events.
Not possible.
But what it is possible to do is change people's perception of what happened in the past.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they've been rewriting history the whole time. I think they've had to rewrite history every 50 bloody years or something.
As we're going along.
Yeah, as we're going along, because there's always going to be the element, us, that say, hang on a second. You know, this
well, that's
is
where
bullshit.
Mandela effect comes in handy as a psyop for them.
Mandela effect. Mandela effect is a weird one. That is but
I'm saying bring it in conjunction with what you're just saying there. If they have a Mandela effect type of thing that exists, then maybe we start going, oh, it must be a Mandela effect thing. Well, no, what they've done is they've rewritten everything, and you've just not noticed. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. And it's a recall anomaly. That's what it is. It's not a Mandela effect at all. Now, that's how I'm going with that. because that makes sense. That would fit it.
It
perfectly.
could absolutely be like over the last 20 years, they've been systematically replacing stuff, you know, and that's why residuals exist, because they haven't been able to get everything, basically.
And again, they'll allow communities to set themselves up so they can get feedback as to what people's standpoint on all of this is, because they monitor everything. So that's all part of the plan, to see where people's heads are with things. It's important for them to know. If you want to stay 10 steps ahead, you need to know what your folk are thinking.
Well, you need to create what they're thinking, man. You need
Right,
to,
exactly.
yeah,
and you need to make sure therefore they stay in line with what you've created for them to think. That's the point I'm making.
Yeah, because their perception of what's happening is what's going to ultimately determine whether it continues or not.
If you've still got people really believing we can land on a lump of cheese, I say those rocket boosters melt cheddar cheese if you try that. It's all nonsense. They never landed on cheese. Come on, Voynich, back me up here.
I should jump into the chat room, man.
Cody, while you do that, can I just quickly nip to the loo, mate?
Yeah, you go for it, dude. And
I just want to check in on my landlady. She knocked on my door. She's not feeling great today, and I'm trying to get all the people at the doctors for her medication stuff. This is what we're dealing with. They don't care that she's 87. They've left her with no medication because they haven't arranged for a decent chemist to sort her medication out for her properly. So she's waiting for a week now with no medication, including heart tablets. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
That's how much they don't
sadly, I can believe it.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, though. I know that if she was in Nottingham, if you were in Nottingham and anywhere near Adam Meakin's pharmacy, I know that he would ensure that she got her medication.
I know he would. And had I known this when we were in Nottingham on a tour, I would have asked him because he was there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
all right, mate. Go on. You go. I'm going to flick back through these comments here and say hello to people.
Okay, I'll leave the camera
back to the beginning. All right, mate. Here we are. Well, that's as far back as we're going, apparently. What the Flock TV? How you doing, Paul? Good to see you, mate. And Kev, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. Shari Ives and Leafy. Good to see you, mate. Tujoy now. How you doing, babe? Hope you're feeling better. Hope you're doing better. Lev Kung Fu Shaolin. What's up? How you doing? Thanks for being here. Is that the line I've been pondering of late? Where do we get to push before it is ego? How are we allowed to push back certain ways away, or how do we? Right, yeah, that's out of context for me, so probably not the best message for me to read and try and understand. Plane Drifter, how you doing, dude? Good to see you. We are Jedi, quite literally. Planting seeds, no matter how small, really does count. Yeah, I do agree. Martin Haley, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. Okay, it's kidnapped a woman and went to jail. His knowledge may be correct and pure, but knowing what happened skews my understanding of his work. Yeah, I can understand why that might happen. I mean, all I can say is I don't think he's that boy, because he was only a boy when that happened. And I like to think that the things that he's learned and the philosophy that he's fostered since then, he would never ever do anything like that ever again. He doesn't strike me. He strikes me as the sort of guy that would protect rather than oppress. You know, whatever demons he had, hopefully he's worked through and got rid of. Like I said, I don't I don't know quite what to. Really don't know quite what to make of of him. But I definitely warm to him. I'm not repelled by him. I warm to him. I think he's a. I'm just being wary. I'm just being careful because it's so precise. What he says is so precise, and it's based on things that were written. And there we go back to the issues of who wrote it and when. And it might be a book that says it was printed in 17 whatever, but how do we really know? So it's just, yeah, I'm just wary. But I'm also thinking about my life, thinking about, maybe I don't want to be in certain places around 2040, you know? And I'm also excited by it. I'm looking forward to it. I really don't want, I want him to be right. I want Jason to be right. And there's going to be something that happens in 2040 that just completely resets everything. But it doesn't, even if he is right, that doesn't help us with now and with what's going on now. So, Andrea73, how are you doing? Good to see you. Just JP. As you can see, I'm just flicking through and trying to find the people. Rachel McCaskill. Morning-ish. I try to never be morning. I save that for when someone dies. And I just say good day. Good day to you. Grand rising. Beautiful soul. Damn it. I just think I've just flicked all the way down to the bottom. M, how you doing, babe? Voynich. Brian Evans. Little Wing, how you doing? Good to see you. And Paul from Newcastle. Way, man. Bill Bacon. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Three Fingers. What up? Vividness 420. What up? Dean HD. How you doing, man? I haven't seen you for a while.
I was going to say hello to Dean, actually. Hi, Dean.
Jolly man.
Sorry.
Go on.
He was mentioning something when we were talking about cameras everywhere and stuff. I think Dean was alluding to the fact that if I wasn't so naughty, they wouldn't have so much interest. So nice to see you, mate. I have not seen you for ages. In fact, when was the last time we spoke? I think it must have been Cambridge or something like that. Anyway, yeah, good to see you.
What is naughty at the end of the day? Like,
yeah,
at the end of the day, what do any of us do that's really a danger? You know, it gets me because we're not, the only thing that we're a danger to is the fucking establishment.
And
we're a danger to the system. By extension, because of our ignorance to the tools that can be used.
Yeah.
You know? Because it's more than physical or legal tools within the realm. It's metaphysical, spiritual shit, you know. We tie ourselves up in knots. They really don't have to do that much because we tie ourselves up. in knots, in perceptions and beliefs, and
That's
you know?
why. That's why I think a lot of this was done by design, including all our hardships, everything. And that's why I challenge, not challenge, wrong word to use, but that's why I joined you when you talked about divinity and stuff, where I'm saying that design, yeah, I agree totally with that. There's too much complexity even with too many things, like your eyeball being one of the best examples, right? That they're just not things that happen by accident. They're just not.
No.
Right. We can't even replicate it. We can't even replicate that technology. It's impossible. We can't even replicate the materials, how it all binds together, all
Vocal
that stuff.
cords and the power of speech, like the power of speech and singing,
the power
being
of thought,
able to sing and
being able to think, being able to remember. How do you put how a brain remembers things? You know,
the speed of thought.
Yeah.
Like
and of movement.
Yeah, and like the fact that your heart can sense something like fractions of a second before it happens, and faster than your brain, faster than you can. It's, you know, dangers and stuff.
So there has to be a design factor in all of this. There's got to be, right? And I'm not disputing that. I would call that the antecedent, right? So it's a bit like saying there must be a container on Earth because we experience gas pressure. We have no proof of a container. I've never walked up to it and banged it with my knuckles. But because we have gas pressure, there must be one.
We have hearsay proof of it. We have hearsay proof of it in so-called videos.
That's what I mean. Yeah, exactly. Oh, hearsay proof. Or do you think there's people who've actually gone up to it and gone, we saw the edge or we saw the wall?
There is there's testimony from that guy that allegedly was on an Antarctic Antarctic base, and they were monitoring they called it sky ice or something, and it was literally, it was like the blue ice, and they were taking core samples of it and stuff, and when it evaporated, it just evaporated into air because it was like 98% oxygen or something. But that is a hearsay testimony. It's, you know, and there were I don't remember there being any videos provided. It was just, this is my testimony. You know, one guy. Anybody can sit there and say, give a story, you know? I enjoy listening. Out there.
Especially
I enjoy this is exactly what I'm going to say, right? I enjoy listening to I can't remember what he's called, Mr. Ballin he's called, right? Ex-Marines. Really, it seems like a really nice guy, right? And a brilliant storyteller. And he's telling these stories about, and they're supposedly true life stories, missing 411, stuff like that. But after a while, after like listening to him for a couple of months, it started to occur to me, hang on a second, how is he giving this perspective so fucking perfectly? Like, that person's dead. How's he telling me how that person felt?
Well,
you know, and what was going through that person's mind? They were dead.
It's the same with the Admiral Byrd thing. I've had a problem with that now for a good 3 years. In the beginning,
I had a problem with that.
Yeah, in the beginning,
his testimony, mate. His fucking testimony.
Right in the very, very beginning, I thought there could be something to it, but of course now, I definitely don't think there's anything to it. I think he's definitely a handled spokesperson,
it's controlled up,
mouthpiece.
Controlled up.
Yeah.
Something that was inserted to be able to use later, basically.
Yeah, and he gives it away with what he says, because he says, I believe that, we know that there are land masses the size of America that have never been seen by humans before. Well, that's a contradiction right there. That doesn't work. You either seen it, which means you know it's the size of America, or you haven't seen it, which means you can't know what size it is. So which one is it? And if you haven't seen it, how can you know there's something there? I mean, just saying. Anyway, stars, no stars, right? I always say that. Stars, no stars.
Dude, I always had a massive issue with the interviews Like you can see body language. Body
Mhm.
language says it all. The interviews of the astronauts afterwards, all very, very tight-lipped, very pissed off. Like pissed
Scared.
off, man. They were pissed off, and they were
They looked scared to me,
yeah,
or intimidated. Let's put it like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Cornered, whatever.
Not Buzz Aldrin.
Armstrong.
Neil Armstrong, man. He looked pissed off because he was intimidated.
Yeah,
Like
they
he
looked
looked like he just didn't know what to say, and he was really pissed off by it.
right. But then that begs the next question. Doesn't beg the next question, but it raises the next question, which is then, if we're going to work by the method that we've just employed about half an hour ago, which is let's question everything right from point zot. I just made that word up. Doesn't exist, I don't think. If it does, I want it patented. Then we have to question whether the press conference wasn't staged either, and whether their response in that press conference wasn't staged to feed an alternative opinion, to then ascertain who thinks the moon landing's happened and who didn't, to then gain data on people's thoughts. So again, I just don't know is the answer to that. My first thoughts 4 or 5 years ago was, yeah, look, the astronauts are pissed off, blah, blah, blah. Now I've got to think to myself, well, none of this is by happenstance or coincidence. This has been mapped out right from day one. Everything we're going through right now, it's been mapped out from day one. It's not a coincidence. They're not moving as they see things. This is being rolled out, all of it, right?
I think there is an element.
I'm just saying that as a bit of food for thought. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, but I think that's why they are so shit hot on censorship, because they can't afford for anything to deviate from the narrative. They have to go on.
They have to have censorship as well, so it looks like they're the bad guys. Yeah, of course. It's all part of it. Good cop, bad cop.
Well, but also, I mean, I do think that there's people that are trying to share things that they're seeing true and things that they're experiencing, true things that are just getting removed because they can't afford for any of the truth to be recorded, you know, and kept on record. Guy Fawkes, how you doing, mate? Good to see you. Well, what the fuck? Paul, you're still here, mate. Good to see you, man. Good to see you still here. They say they guess the size of Antarctica.
He says, he doesn't say that though. Bird doesn't say we guessed it. Bird says they know of land masses larger than the United States. That's what he says.
Yeah.
He doesn't say he guessed it. He says he knows.
Rich, but making sure to let everybody know that they are rich with resources.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that it's all land for discovery. That's plentiful resources, uranium, and
he also says that it's beyond the South Pole, on the other side of Middle America, right? Now, on a ball that doesn't work, but neither does it on a flat Earth.
No, exactly. It doesn't. It's like, well, that means that the South Pole isn't a pole. It's
right.
just that's just a flag saying South Pole. It's not actually the South Pole, and that does fit in with a flat Earth monopole. Because anything, it's just needs to, whatever's opposite to north is south. So all you need is a monopole for south to exist.
Antipodal, isn't it? Yeah, it's antipodal. Yeah, that's right. And you know, when you think about it, it all gets rolled out around about the same time. NASA gets renamed in they don't get formed in 1958, by the way. They get renamed. I'd like to just throw that one in there. People think they were formed in 1958, NASA. No, they were not. They were formed in 1913, and they were called something else. So 1913 is an interesting year as well. I do believe it was the year of the Federal Reserve Act. But anyway,
right. And also, it's interesting if you fit it in also into Jason's narrative, the Phoenix narrative, which I think there's definitely truth in this thing. You know, there's something that happened in 1902 that they've obfuscated, and all of the major corporations and trusts and think tanks and everything, all, you know, it was all after 1902, 1903, 1904.
Well, when
Actually,
did the
think tanks were after the wars, weren't they?
When did the Rockefeller Foundations get founded? Do we know that? I haven't got it on me. I can't look now. I'm only on my phone.
Well,
but that is a significant date in terms of when we officially know who was in charge of what that runs our systems, right? But of course, Rockefeller has a boss as well. Let's not forget, everybody has a boss, right? So everyone answers to somebody. But the Rockefeller Foundation, and when they decided to make oil the main commodity, and the automobile then came out, got rolled out, and ships started going from steam to diesel and all that sort of stuff. I'd like to know when exactly that happened. And I'm not too sure if it happened in 1902, if it happened after that or before that. Again,
the Rockefeller, I'm just looking it up now. Rockefeller Foundation. Oh, it's founded in August, based at 420, based at 420 Fifth Avenue, New York.
Guy Fawkes just put it in the chat.
It's not a date, has he? When was it?
1913. Surprise, surprise.
1913. There we go.
The year of the Federal Reserve Act, and 1 year before the rollout of World War One. So when you found a company, it doesn't mean it started functioning then. So it means that whole idea of having a foundation that's in charge of stuff, that would have been, those thought processes would have kicked in before then, right? So it's a bit like when we say mass brick manufacturing factories didn't happen until 1885. It doesn't mean to say they were up and running all over the world, but it also doesn't mean to say that's when bricks were invented. They still made bricks before then. It's just that it changed the system of the system of running changed.
And the thing is, the date, are they saying that's the date when the first manufacturing plants, whatever, were built, or is that the date when they say, right, from this date it was a worldwide thing?
What,
you know, did they have little factories existing?
According to the history books and according to all the bricklaying journals and stuff that I've looked at, they always quote 1885 as the year that the mass production of bricks by way of a factory was established. 1885
was established.
Established, founded, formed, started.
Yeah, but the thing is, but with language, it could mean that
mean a lot of things.
Like it existed before, but it wasn't an established method. It existed in pockets before, but it wasn't an established method. It wasn't being used by the establishment.
We also know that the rail networks couldn't have happened before 1825, because the first railroad that was ever laid, again, is according to the history books, many different history books, was between a place called Stockton and Darlington in England, and they were wooden tracks, and they were there to.
Was that Eisenbahn Kingdom Brunel?
No, that was
Eisenbahn Kingdom Brunel anything to do with that?
Brunel has to do with the Great Western Railway and all the tunnels and all the Clifton Bridge and all that nonsense that he allegedly did all on his own with a handful of people. You know, another lie.
A handful of people, a wheelbarrow and a hammer.
So how did you get all your stuff around the country to build all your rail tracks when you didn't have rail tracks?
Where did the steel come from?
Right. How do you make steel? How do you build your furnaces? How do you get to the place where you want to build your furnaces? How do you transport your men, your equipment? Where do they
Where
live?
did the bricks
what do they
come
eat?
from?
Where do they live? What do they eat?
Where did the yeah?
They didn't have tin
It's
food.
like no, exactly, and it's like feeding an army.
Of course it is. Medics. Where's your medical
look
staff?
into, that's why I don't believe any of these bullshit narratives about armies marching across fucking countries with
all nonsense.
Like thousands of infantrymen and thousands of cavalry and all the horses and
I grew up in the military, mate. Right, 19 years of my life I spent in the army, growing up in that environment. I never served as a soldier because I saw what it did. And to be fair, my dad always put me off joining the army. He was never for it. He always said he would never support my decision if I was to do that, and I didn't. And it's lucky I didn't, because I had a close school friend who joined the very regiment I would have joined, and he got killed in Afghanistan, I think it was. Again, serving for a bullshit war, right? But getting back to what you were saying a second ago, what was it you were saying? Because I just lost my thread.
I should be able to tell you.
It was about inventing stuff. It's armies.
Steel.
Okay, armies.
Oh yeah, armies
Right.
and marching thousands of people.
Now,
Oh my God,
let's just imagine you're based in Paris. Just bear with me. Now, in today's money, a regiment, a cavalry regiment, like a tank regiment, like my dad served in, has about 400 men, right? 4 squadrons, A, B, C, D squadron. Each squadron has a squadron leader. They answer to the regimental sergeant major, the RSM, and his boss is the colonel or the officer in command, the OC, or the commanding officer, depending on what sort of regiment you're serving in, infantry or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Now, each of these military entities, they have to have a supporting team. They have an auxiliary force with them at all times. They have medical staff. Did you know, for example, all the soldiers that you see playing instruments on all these big fancy parades like we just had, they're all medics by trade. They all work as medics in the battlefield. That's what they are. They're medics and musicians. They don't do anything else, right? But anyway, getting back to that, once you take it upon yourself to, first of all, build all the equipment you need to even move out of bloody Paris with all your troops. So that means you need the horses, you need to feed your horses, etc. So you know where this is going.
And water them, not just feed,
everything
and
you need. And then
them.
you've got to, we're told that they marched from Paris to Moscow, right? And back again.
Yeah.
And that Napoleon did it twice because he was sent in exile, and then he raised an army of 5,000 from Corsica or Elba or wherever it was, and then he marched back up north over the Alps, and then the Battle of Waterloo started. It's all nonsense. It's impossible. It is impossible. Not probable. It's impossible. Can't do it. You couldn't even feed your men. Never mind have them armed up to the eyeballs. A cannonball took about 1.5 minutes to reload. By the time you've done that, you're dead. What a load of nonsense. Who are you aiming it at? You know, and all that nonsense.
Are you getting into stand still? Just hang on. Could you just stand still? Stop moving. We just fired the cannon at you, for fuck's sake.
Can you imagine the Brits can you imagine the British in England, right, on the White Cliffs of Dover, saying to the Spanish, guys, before you invade us with your armada, can you wait 30 years? Because it takes about 30 years with the technology we have right now to build a small castle. So we could just wait or just not invade us at all. Because if I was the Spanish, I'd be going, well, let's not invade where the castle is. Let's just sail 2 miles upstream. Yeah. It's nonsense. It's all nonsense. It doesn't make sense. It's bullshit.
This whole thing about forts. Okay, right.
Nonsense.
So they got all their army there. Okay, well, we'll just land here then.
Yeah. What are you going to do? You're going to starve them out. They've got to leave their castle to get food at some point.
Yeah, all you got to do, that's it. Just like land somewhere else, flank the fucking fort, cut it off, and boom, you got a siege. All right, they might have cannons inside or whatever, but you just...
It's all absolute nonsense. Vikings going across the Atlantic in elongated wooden fucking rowing boats. Nonsense. Where are their below deck cabins? Where would they stay? Where are they eating? Where are all their different various clothing? Where's their drinking water? This, that, and the other. How did it navigate?
So I think there's something in the story about Phoenicians.
I don't believe any of that stuff with wooden boats across thousands of miles of water. Sorry, I don't find it even possible. Not even possible. It would kill you.
Now it would.
Well, it would then. It'd kill you then. You'd have to eat and drink something and not freeze to death and power your boat. You can't just row all the way.
No, but they didn't. They had sails, didn't they? They
and if the wind is down for 2 weeks, what do you do then? It's just there's too many variables, mate.
I don't know about that. I think
too many variables
because I think we're capable of a lot more than we realize now, and I think that we were more aware of what we were capable of back then. So we were a much more potent force back then than we are now.
Which is why I know that it's all nonsense to think that we have been around for thousands of years and didn't wake up to technology until the 1800s. I think the thousands of years before that was all
horse shit.
Yeah,
horse shit.
And that's why I know
technology.
The religion stuff is all bollocks. It has to be, because it all goes back in a time when I don't believe we were even around.
Right, but I think that the lessons that can be learned from the parables and, from the scriptures, the principles and the morals are sound. Right, they're coming from individual. Yeah. What I've always said is that it's okay. It might be inspired by God, but it's penned by it's penned by a man.
Yeah,
that man has an ego, and his perception of what he was told. I might have a completely different perception if I was told the same thing by the same entity. In fact, I might actually perceive it as something completely different. That it's not God that's speaking to me. That
I might not like. Yeah, exactly. You might not like what you're writing, and suddenly what you're writing comes over a bit differently, doesn't it?
So it's there's a lot of room for interpretation, but I think the principles, the basic principles that are taught, or that you can glean from the scriptures, I think they're sound.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
So,
and that's what we do, though. Isn't that that's what we call discernment, though, Richie? What you're just doing right there, right? So you're saying, yes, question its origins, but the message itself, there's actually nothing wrong with a lot of it.
But it's a message that's carried through more than just Christianity. That's the thing. It's
right.
Like
love thy neighbor is something that is legible everywhere, isn't it?
Well. And the power of unconditional love and the importance of loving and helping and being compassionate and and patience and
but that's not exclusive to Christianity. That's the point I'm making. That
no, exactly.
Yeah,
it's not. That's Hindu. I mean, if you read the Jewish law is basically Christianity.
Well, yeah. Was he not king of the Jews?
That's the thing. He was an Israelite. He was an Israelite, and I don't believe the Israelites were Jews. I think that's another area where we've been handed an absolute bag of crap. Basically, the whole Jewish story and the people that have controlled the narrative have created. They've created it that they see it as like some sort of bulletproof vest, because the last thing anybody wants to be is called anti-Semitic. But the reality of it is that Jewish people are beautiful, and Palestinian people are beautiful. And also the ones that are presenting themselves as Jewish aren't the sort of Jewish that people think they are. They're not the same sort of Jews as the really nice people that are just people like you and me. These ones are the ones that are using that label as bulletproof vests so they can get away with all kinds of fucking nasty shit.
Again, plan right from the start.
Yeah.
Plan from the start. Because look at the two bits of narrative that involve Judaism. They just happen to be the two biggest stories in humankind's history. One is the atrocities of World War II, and the other one is the Bible. So when you're talking two milestones of humanity and it involves them, then you have to kind of scratch your head and go, well, that is a bit of a coincidence.
The thing is, the question's just gone out of my head, man. I just had this question popped up and it's just gone.
You'll come back to it.
I will. Did you right? So Jason did a video yesterday or the day before yesterday. I think it was a live stream, and he was saying, "If I were the devil," he called it dark. What was it? Dark. Philosopher's name, can't remember the one that he used. Saying, if I were the devil, I would make sure that I had control of finance, media, and government. I think government was the third one. When you look at who's in control of, you know, those aspects of our reality, you look at the individual, like, what's his name? Said, I care not who writes the laws.
Yeah, Rothschild.
When I could, yeah. Well, not just Rothschild, was it?
No, but he was quoted as saying that, yeah.
Yeah, I think JP Morgan said it as well.
They all probably say the same bullshit. They probably never said it.
Yeah.
It's probably just written there as part of what you're supposed to think they said or whatever. I don't know. What do they care? They have the money. They have the power. Well, other way around. They have the power and they have the money. Let's say it like that.
So that's what I was going to say, right? The grand plan, how long's it been in implementation? How long's it been going? When did it start? That's the thing. When did it start? What was it like before? Well, we're all speculating that we lived in a completely different world where the energy was free and everybody got on with each other, and it was a really lovely, beautiful place. And then these parasites took control and started rewriting history, and now here we are.
Mm-hmm.
Their plan hasn't been an evolving plan, or has it? And that's why they've needed to. I don't think that these people are intelligent enough to have covered all the bases.
I don't think the people that we're seeing are the ones that are in charge either. I think there are people beyond the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds that we know nothing about.
No, there absolutely are. The families that we don't know, the family, the bloodlines that we haven't, you know, the ones that we think are dead, but they're not.
Well,
you know,
and whatever entities they answer to. I'm not on about worshipping of the sun and the devil worship it, but I'm on about the ones that they answer to, because they obviously feel obliged to do something as well, and that's why. But I think really from the start, I think some bits in between have to be sort of tweaked as they go along, because you can't predict everything. Yes, and I think with time they've got to this point.
But they have like a script to the in response to those things that happen.
Like
something
you would
happens,
have
implement this thing, and it squashes it.
Now that's how the military works. If this, then that. If that, then this. A bit like the scientific method.
Yeah.
Right. Same thing. If A, then B. If A, then not B. Right. That's it. That's the scientific method, and it's like. Well, it's a similar sort of thing. But one thing's for sure, we are definitely the ones being shoved around, and we're the pawns in the game. And a lot of people know we're the pawns in the game, but they don't actually realize that they don't really know. They say it. You know, a lot of people I talk to, they're kind of, yeah, we're nothing, we're just slaves, aren't we? And I'm thinking, do you actually realize what you're saying there? Do you actually have an understanding of your role in all of this? Not, you know what I mean?
They're accepting it. But when they say that, they're saying, yeah, I know. I am just a pawn. I am nothing. I have, no power. I'm insignificant in
You're
what's
on a
going
speck of dust in a vacuum of space.
But there's even people that don't subscribe to that. You know, they're open to the flat Earth and stuff, but they still think, "Rah, on my own, I'm completely ineffectual." You know, it's like at the end of the day, what can I do personally? I can make as much noise as I fucking want. They'll just go. If I make too much,
that depends on our own personal egos as well. How noisy we want to be in all of this, because I don't think the volume of our noise really matters. Actually, I've learned that now over the past few years, that actually it's more, if I want to really get a message passed on, the best way I do it is to talk to people out there in our environment in which we live, in the community or whatever. And I don't mean stand on a pedestal and talk to 100 people. What I mean is, in your everyday conversations and stuff, like we spoke about a couple of hours.
So in my experience, that's something that, like, now, because of the language barrier, and there's no English people around really that I hang out with. I haven't got any friends left around here. Just spend every day with the dogs and the cat, and occasionally I speak to the people that live here, but they're Italian and Spanish and Canarian, and nobody's English, so I can't. There's no point. There's just no point in trying to. They're completely sucked in. Spanish media is as bad, if not worse, than bloody American. Like in 2020, 21, even now, still now, about nuclear war and stuff. They just fear, and everybody's bought into it.
And that there, mate, right? It's got to be the proof to even the most blinded of the blind that they're all in it together, because all headline makers around the world are writing the same stuff. They're doing the same in Germany. They do the same in France.
Oh, moving in lockstep together, man.
All of them.
I mean, okay, all right. Think communication happens like that now. The difference between 1990 and now is the speed that you can get information out.
That's the only difference.
But so everybody's become connected online, which does account a little bit for it, but it just proves that not one of these so-called journalists is a real journalist. They're not. They're just a mouthpiece.
It's a bit, it happens like this, Richie, the same as with politicians. The only reason why I know is because I know about the politics bit, because that's what I studied years ago, right? So I got to go down to Parliament and stuff and hang out with the chief whips and listen to what they were saying and why they did it and stuff, right? This is going back to 1991. But the politicians is exactly the same thing. When they go into politics, they think they're going in there for some sort of noble reason, right? It's only when they get to beyond council politics, right? When they start knocking on the door of Parliament, then they start realizing that handlers take effect. They call them spin doctors in the trade, but in actual fact, they're your handlers. Every single member of Parliament is handled, even if they think they're so confident and they're in charge of their own faculties, and that they're not. They get told what to wear when they appear in front of the camera. That none of the speeches are written by themselves. They're all handled. Tony Blair has got the most famous of them all with Alistair Campbell. He's the most famous handler of them all. They just don't call them that. And they report straight to some of the bigwigs. And we're talking bigwigs well above prime minister level, right? So it's structured totally differently. So they're entering the job thinking they're doing the right thing, but then when they get there, they realize, and then you either go with it because you've got your nice little number in place, or you don't. Most do go with it, don't they? And that's what happens. The media, they are absolutely like that as well. They're all hand in hand. You start as a junior journalist, you do your apprenticeship, and before you know it, the editor is in their ear, and before you know it, well, you can either lose your job or you just go along with it. What harm does it do?
Everyone else is doing it.
You know, I remember when we got interviewed by the Bournemouth Echo down here in Bournemouth a couple of years ago, and you know, the girl who was interviewing me, for example, she was an apprentice. She was an apprentice journalist, and of course, the words that were printed the next day were not the same words that I spoke.
Yeah.
Totally taken out of context. But that's what they learn to do. Is well, you know, from doing music, I do as well, from the musical aspect. It's about interpreting it, right?
Yeah.
Interpreting the message. You know, people will tell you people will tell you that 2,000 people have been admitted in hospital overnight, right? That is one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is there's 1,200 hospitals in England. So that makes it less than 2 people per hospital. So whichever way you want to flip the stats, you can put a spin on it and interpret it to your benefit. And that's what these people do. And they're very good at it. They get paid handsomely for it. We don't get paid for this.
They're masters at facade.
That's where all their Cambridge and Oxford and Etonian training comes in. And in America, it's the, what is it, Yale and all that, right? Yeah. Harvard and all that nonsense. And all that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing. In Germany, it's Heidelberg and a couple of other places. They've all got these places. Valencia in Spain or whatever. Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen in Ukraine?
It'll be business as usual. It will simmer, and then it will be raised again in a few years' time down the road when they need another war in the area. It will just keep going perpetually. Nothing will change. The people will be they'll still be leading the same lives as they were beforehand. Back to me in Georgia in 2008.
Don't you think Putin's just going to come in and clean up?
No, I don't think, unless his Masonic master says to him, right, we're going to pretend that the Russians are going in and cleaning up. No, nothing's getting cleaned up. I don't believe there's ever a war there. Not how we're told. Never have done, right from the start. And I'm basing that on my own experience of 2008 when we had to flee Georgia, which is right next door to Ukraine, or just down along the coastline in the Black Sea between Turkey and Russia. And the Russians allegedly attacked us on a Friday night, August the 8th. I remember it. I've still got my passport that I kept from that time. And it took us 3 days to get back to Berlin. Me, my wife at the time, and her cousin. I didn't see any shooting. We didn't see any fighting. Right? But when I watched the TV, you thought the whole country was on fire. There was me sat in a flat in Georgia watching European television showing the war in the country I was sat in trying to get out. So I was seeing one thing on the telly, and there I was in this sitting room, not experiencing what they were showing on the TV.
I think there's an element of so I know that Tim Pool and Luke Radowski have been in areas of conflict, and it has literally been, there's been a riot or conflict or whatever going on in this street, but you walk 2 blocks away and everybody's in the shopping center and it's life and business as normal. Business is just like you wouldn't know. You might hear the gunshots going off, but everyone's just getting on with life where they are because it's happening here.
Right.
It's compartmentalized. It's compartmentalized, and I think skirmishes and battles do take place.
That is all right. Well, from my experience,
it's not the war. It's not the war that they're saying it is.
And that would only work on a public if they're used to hearing gunfights. Because I'm telling you now, if you know that 2 roads down the road there are people getting killed, and you're going about your business daily, just normal as if nothing's going on, that doesn't happen. It does happen if you grew up in a military environment and you're used to hearing that sort of stuff. Then you can get on with your daily lives and still hear snap, crackle, and pop in the background and not think anything of it. But if you're a normal civilian and you're hearing fighting 2 roads down the road, you ain't getting on with your normal business. And that's why that for me is all bollocks. It's bullshit. Unless they're part of a military environment, and that could even be exercise that they're doing 2 roads down the road. And the civilian population know about that. And that's why they're coping fine with it. We don't know.
To be fair, dude, they've been shelling the Donbass region.
Have they?
And that though, well, since 2014, when they installed a puppet government.
I don't know.
When they deposed the democratically elected leader and implemented their puppet government. I remember.
I don't know, mate. I don't know. So we're told. That's all I can offer you.
Well, yeah, that was the programming back in 2014. And
in 2008, it was Georgia. So there you go. And what happened also in 2008? A financial crash.
So yeah, that's the thing. Big financial crash in 2008.
Mm-hmm. So I expect the same. Like I said in my last video, the narratives, they repeat themselves. It's the same narrative now as it was when I was a teenager in the mid-80s. Same, exactly the same. Right. Same MO,
which means all it's just to feed the military-industrial complex. So it's whoever is profiting. Who's profiting the most in those industries?
That will be a byproduct on an industrial level, yes. But on another level, it's about maintaining those perceptions that they've already given the general public of regions, of the regularity of these brutal wars, of the normality of a bad Russian regime, all these things that keep on getting told people since I was a kid. Watch out for the red under the bed. That's what it was called, right? You grew up thinking the Soviets were going to nuke you off the face of the earth at any second. Certainly we got that message when we were growing up in the military in the 80s. You can imagine.
So, it was in all of the movies and everything, all the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies and everything. It was all about Soviet Russia and the commies and the proletariat.
You know,
proletariat. You use a language like that, you must be a commie.
It all pushes towards that narrative. You know, it's all about fear at the end of the day. They happen to use that as one of the methods, but it's all about fear. That's what it boils down to. It's no good killing people. You can't have them scared if they're dead.
No, you just need them controllable. If they're dead,
you need to show them that you could kill them if you wanted to.
But where do you get your power from if the people that perceived you to have power are dead?
Exactly. You have to keep them alive. But what you do is you fear them up so much that they turn to you for support. That's the trick. And then you have them. Or solace.
Right. So that brings us to, you know, what we do about it, which is what I said, you know, earlier, a couple of hours ago. We need to break away. We need to break away from the system. But
I think that starts internally, though, Rich, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, obviously, yeah.
No, you're saying obviously, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people say, I know you know, mate. By the way, I'm not being condescending, but what I mean is there are plenty of people. There are plenty of people I speak to, mate, who know it's an internal process, but yet their behaviours are showing me otherwise. So
because they know it, but they don't understand it.
Right, which means they don't know yet. They're telling me they do know.
Right. And that's when we get down to people. That's when we get down to shadow work, and you know, understanding the fourth plane of consciousness. Basically, being able to observe yourself critically but without judgment.
Yeah.
You know, be able to, and which is balance, isn't it? That's about being able to balance yourself, center yourself.
There are certain tools that people can develop and use on a daily basis to make sure that their side of the street is clean, as it were, because that's how it begins with all of this. It all begins about your own side of the street being clean, whoever it is, doesn't matter. I speak for myself in this case, right? So by way of that sheer fact, reduces my tendencies to then judge others, allow my ego to get away with me and all that, because I'm busy enough ensuring that I'm doing the right thing. And if I don't know what doing the right thing is, then I need to review that and take a closer look, right? But it starts from within. You know that, I know that. And if everybody did a little bit of that, you would find a change in things that are going on, because a lot of people's behaviors aren't down to the agenda. It's people's fundamental behaviors. They've lost the skill to communicate correctly with each other. Everyone wants to be the quickest. No one wants to be accurate with their information anymore. No one allows the other person to finish their sentences when they're talking. All that stuff, everyone gets triggered so quickly. Everyone knows everything, but actually doesn't know much at all. And all that stuff, right? It's like, when has this gone this bad? Was it this bad when I was a teenager growing up, playing footy outside all the time?
Oh, mate, I mean, that's the biggest thing, isn't it? It's like, well, hang on a second. When did everybody stop? When did the common sense disappear? When did my dad lose all common sense?
Seriously.
Because I thought he had it in the 80s and the 90s.
Seriously.
I thought my dad had some common sense and thought he was, but no, he has none. Zero.
No. None of them have.
What happened? Was it removed?
This is the thing, right? This is the thing. You know, there's a lot of people who I really respected, and trust me, it takes a lot to gain my respect. I'm such a skeptical mofo. I really am. Just the way I am. I can't help it. But they've lost it. You know, for me, they're done, because just by way of they're justifying their standpoint. It's just, for me, so weak. It's so weak. It's like, what the hell? What has got to you guys? What is it? What's happening that's not happening to me, but it's happened to you?
Is it something in the water? Is it something in the food? Is it something that my body's processing, but your body isn't? You know, my body, are we all with that? We're not consuming anything different. We're all consuming the same thing. It's just our bodies aren't being affected by it, and so we can. Or is it that our consciousness is too well established? Is our connection too strong? You know,
well, I've got one theory.
Are we special? Are we special?
Well, that is what's been talked about with a few people. You know, about, well, not necessarily selected in that sense. We don't want to put a Hollywood spin on all of this, but in a sense, how can it be that people way more intelligent than me have just not smelt the coffee?
No, they're still buying into the whole narrative.
Yeah,
and they chop and change with it,
narrative.
And they're going up and down with it, and left and right as it moves. It's right, whatever the current thing is, man. Yeah, I support the current thing.
Yeah, it's bizarre, and for me, it can't be a question of intelligence. It's not that, so it's got to be something else. So somewhere along the line, we're plugged into something that lot out there are not, or vice versa. They're plugged in and we're not. One or the other.
One of us is NPC. It's either non-player character or non-programmable.
Yeah, one of us is getting it, as it were. Let's not beat about the bush, eh?
So that's why I like Jason's theory, because that says that we're able to build up our own informational field, which is basically a barrier or block to anything that this corrupted version of the simulacrum can give us. You know, so AIX, the artificial intelligence X, it's too much work and too much energy to keep altering shit, to keep you in check within this reality. So it just basically spits you out, and then you're just in the simulacrum, which is where within your own reality you can create. You can create your own reality within that. So, and that's why there are people that are living outside of the system. They do seem to be living outside of the system completely, having a completely different experience to the rest of us, because they're not plugged into it.
Yeah, it's
maybe they're untouchable, we're just led to believe that, oh no, they own the land. If they want to come in and turf you off, they'll be able to. If they want to, they'll say you can't do this, you can't do that, and all that is just more perception building of barriers to stop us from even bothering to try. No, there's no point in going to the fucking Ecuador, because they'll it's the same in Ecuador as it is everywhere else. It's one world government. It's very well,
you don't know till you try it. That's true.
You don't know till you try it, do you? Yeah.
No, you don't know.
And then
you don't know till you try it.
And then we get into a leap of faith.
Well, this is the thing with what we were mentioning earlier about, well, I don't know if we did or not, but anyway, something to do with, we did, about legalities and stuff like that. It's not to say that there are people who work within that framework, that system, that aren't good people and that do turn a blind eye and give us all a chance, kind of thing. I'm sure that happens, right? But the system in general is not there to support us or help us. Absolutely not, right? Absolutely not. We just got to cut a lucky break here or there, or grab the opportunity when we see one. But in terms
Somebody's
of
at my door.
Sorry,
one sec, mate. Somebody's at my door. Hang on.
No worries, man. Take it easy. I'll be here. Well, good afternoon to everybody. This was really impromptu. Wasn't planned at all. I just saw that Richie was going to go live this afternoon, so I thought I'd say hi, because we've not spoken for a while. And then he dropped the link in, and I've come on here, and I just noticed a few names in the chat that I recognise because it's coming up on my screen. So hello to everybody. Voynich, not seen you for a while, man. Hope you're keeping well. And everybody else in there, I can only see a select handful of names. Jolly Man, how you doing, mate? Guy Fawkes, bet you dread November, don't you? And anybody else who's in there? Just JP, hi. Brian, good to see you, mate. Yeah. Anyway, there we go. It's one of those things when you start talking about stuff, you can just notice really quickly how, hey, Squirrel Sniper. Very quickly how all of it is connected, right? It really is. But there we have it. Yeah, I just said a quick hello to a couple of people in the chat. Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you now, mate.
Oh, great. I just said a quick hello to a few people that I could see on my screen, just so that you know.
Oh, yeah, no worries.
Well, it was either that or sing them a song, and I wasn't prepared to try my Pavarotti voice this afternoon, so I thought I'll give that a miss.
It's just the guy after money. I have to pay my rent every Monday, so yeah.
We've got all sorts of things going on here with that as well, especially in the area where I live. The rents are going through the roof, the prices, people are being made, they're getting evicted, they can't afford housing. There's enough housing. Housing isn't the problem. Yeah. It's the affordability that's the problem, which shows again that the system is there stacked against us, because it's absolutely disgusting, right? So it's a big issue. I've been getting involved with community projects and things to try and curb the homelessness here in the region, because the community-based stuff, because at the end of the day, right, however big picture we see things, agenda this, agenda that, there are issues that need to be dealt with on ground level. That doesn't change. That doesn't stop me from being there if I can help out somewhere in the community, which I'm sure a lot of people do anyway, right? And so I saw what was happening, and a lot of the homeless are quite happy to be homeless. They can't be asked with it. It's too complex for them. I won't say they're happy with it, but they'd rather take the chances on the street. A lot of them that I spoke to. That's how bad it's got, right? No, I need a roof over my head, because that should be the first thing that every human is entitled to. No, not that. They're broken to such an extent that they're willing to go with that risk. And it's a
lot of them have become dependent on substances as a result of it, and then it's just
yeah as well, absolutely. But a lot of them are ex-military personnel that I spoke to, for example.
Ex-military personnel are actually trained to survive. That's the thing. I remember
But
listening
they
to
shouldn't be on a
Crystal
street
talking
with no
about it.
house. You know what I mean? If you
No,
serve,
no,
well, nobody should.
absolutely.
Nobody should.
Absolutely. But like you said, some of the people that are on the street have chosen that. And I imagine that might be, ex-military that have chosen that because they know they can.
Well, they can always
it's-
fall back on their survival skills, but I don't think they would choose that as a way of life for the rest of their lives, though. And this is the thing. But some people have kind of given up on it and thought, well, I'd rather just not have all the hassle with all the humiliation and blah blah blah. That's how bad it's got, and that's pretty damning when you look at it like that, right? But yeah,
because if they see if all they see is right, well, if it's a choice between the rat race and this is easier. I'll take this.
But guess what? Guess what? There was a 4-week period. I think it was 4 weeks or 6 weeks. Can't remember now. Where all homelessness vanished from the street, and guess when that was?
Oh, during COVID.
Yeah, they were all in hotels.
Yeah.
Hotels. Can you believe that?
Yeah,
hotels.
but the taxpayer's going to pick up the bill for that.
Doesn't matter, does it? They print their own money. Doesn't matter.
I mean, well, mate, like if we get down to it, then let's talk about all the property that's owned by the state, by the Queen, by various different celebrities, various different lords and ladies, and the aristocracy. Look at all the property that's owned, and it's sat there empty.
Yeah, loads of it
doing nothing.
Officially,
Obama's mansion in Martha's Vineyard, when what's his name sent all the immigrants up there to Martha's Vineyard, and Martha's Vineyard was saying, no, we've got a housing crisis here, we can't, there's just no room for anyone. Well, yeah, okay, except the $12 million mansion that's got how many ensuite bedrooms in it, and they're rooms that could house a family. That's how big they are. It's they're all of they're completely disingenuous. The people at the top.
I remember right at the end of the tour, right, we ended up in a house, a really nice digs, and it was just outside of Leeds. It was outside a place called Tadcaster, which is where the John Smith's brewery headquarters is, right? An old world building with a big old chimney. But I remember standing outside the backyard of this big house, which had hundreds of acres of land associated with it, right? And I just thought, this is just in a little corner of England, the amount of space there is that you could so easily house everybody with some land, connect them all up to Wi-Fi, to electricity, and have everybody living happily ever after. It would be so easy to do. And then I thought to myself, actually, come to think of it, we're so screwed up and down the line as a human race, society, whatever you want to call it, that probably with that amount of freedom and, let's say, entitled riches, most people would probably struggle, and they'd still be at loggerheads, and they'd still end up cutting each other's throats. So which one is it?
Well, that's because of the state of being that everybody's in, which is in this lower,
exactly,
lower chakra, whatever we want to call it, in this, and that's because of the programming, the indoctrination. It goes back to Darwinism.
Act like you've got it. That was the slogan on one of the posters a couple of years ago.
That's like fake it till you make it, isn't it? Though, like,
it's force feeding narratives and perceptions onto people, and they do end up then taking that on board and going with it. That's the mad thing about it, because they know that's what they'll do. They kind of know the reaction already beforehand, don't they?
We can identify with anything nowadays, can't we? I was thinking, I'm just gonna, I identify as a black transgender lesbian Jew. I should be absolutely bulletproof now online.
You should be. Well, there we have it.
What,
Richie?
There we have it, mate. So what are your plans for the rest of the day? What are you up to?
I'm gonna I've got to go next door in a minute to my landlady and sort some stuff out for her, do some shopping for her and stuff like that. I do kind of every day, and then I've got to get myself a couple of bits. And I'm just going to sort of chill for the evening, really. Nothing much, really. How about you?
Yeah, I've got some. I'm trying to find out how much it's going to cost to, you know, exactly everything that's got to be done to get the dogs over to the UK. So yeah, I need to get on with that.
Well, you know, take your time doing it, all that.
Well, no, I can't really take my time doing it. I need to sort it out because it's all part of.
What I mean is, don't
you know,
procrastinate either. You know what I mean? That's not what I mean.
Yeah,
don't let it go. But what I'm saying is, don't rush it. Just make sure it's all in step.
Yeah, definitely.
Far be it from me to give any advice, because I struggle with that shit all the time. You know,
I'm cracking it. I'm cracking at giving advice for certain things. Really terrible at taking it myself.
Wow. The giving it or the taking it doesn't really matter. It's the actions that happen amongst it all. That's what counts, isn't it?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. But, anyway, on that profound note.
On that profound note, I will. I'll see you anon. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, man. It was great.
Oh, it was a pleasure, mate. Anytime.
We must stay in touch.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like you got me on WhatsApp, so
I have.
Always. All right, dude.
I've done a lot of neglecting recently, mate. So.
Yeah, me too. I'm trying to stay away from my phone because it's just we're too reliant on them. We're too dependent on them all the time. I just took note of how many times I was picking it up to look at it just to see it. So, has anybody messaged me? What's going on? It's like, bro, fucking hell. Do you remember, mate, back in 1990 when you didn't have a phone because they didn't exist? What did you do then, for God's sake? Like, it's ridiculous.
Oh, I just wanted to say something because Bill Bacon put something in the chat about contact info ?
Right.
If anybody wants to go on my last video, I've left my email address at the bottom of it. The last video was called the something news, the fearless news, and I was appealing to people's courage more than anything in that video in these times. But underneath the video in the description, I left my email address, and I also left a link to someone's video, a friend of mine who spent the last couple of years we spent together on demos and stuff, and he collated some of Dorset Constabulary's lesser nice moments, especially the way they handled us on a few occasions. So that's a good video clip to watch just to remind people of what we're dealing with. They haven't gone away, these people. They're still there, just that it's all gone quiet, that's all. So people shouldn't drop their guard, but they shouldn't also run around pooing their pants, right? We do have lives to get on with as well. But in that video, Fearless News, there's a link underneath, there's an email address, and I'm also on Facebook and I'm on Instagram with my name, Sven Pillay, so you can contact me there. And if Richie knows you well, I'm sure he can pass on my number. Thank you.
I'm just getting that video up, mate. I'm just trying to get it. So I can put a link in the chat.
Because there was a lot of reposting of headlines from newspapers and stuff, and this, that, and the other. And I'm thinking, you know, why are people cherry picking what headlines they want from the very entities that are there to control us, the media, the mainstream media, right? Because that's such a dangerous trap to fall into.
Dude, which channel is it on? Your Sven P channel or the
Sven
other
P.
one?
No, just the Sven P channel.
The Fearless News, this one.
Yeah. It's about, I can't remember how long it is now. 10 minutes long, something like that. Can't remember. Might be longer. Don't know. But I tend to waffle on when I get going, but yeah. There's a link underneath
You know,
there, and there's also an email.
you know they're putting adverts on your videos already, mate. You know that. That was
Isn't
a
that nice?
30-second advert. 30-second advert on your video. So they're making money off you already, man.
And I can't
You're
even
not
monetize.
No, you're not monetized.
No, I can't. I've only got 501, I think, subscribers at the moment. And even then, I need 4,000 hours of viewed material to even qualify.
So
And I'm on
I've got
800.
like 6,000 viewed hours or something. I've got enough hours, but I'm a couple of hundred short, and I've also got an active strike. So
Yeah. I was hoping to back my channel up somehow, and I had a look at Odyssey, but for some reason it won't sync the two, even though I qualify according to them. But yeah,
the thing is, when you've got less than so I had 4,750 subs, because it's under 5,000 subs, they'd only mirror 400 of my videos. So they kept, well, I had 2,500 videos when they deleted my channel. So 2,100 videos got
mad, isn't it?
Got taken.
Mad. And I looked today as well, even the viewing figures on that latest video, I was up to about 160 odd, which is, I just keep an eye on it because it's fun to have a look at, right? And it dropped down about 40 views today. I thought, what's going on there?
124.
Yeah, it was on 161 yesterday evening when I looked. I thought, what are they doing there? They've done what? They're docking me views now as well. My little channel. Blimey.
And
they are getting desperate.
You got 20 likes with my like.
Oh,
Andrea's commented.
Yeah, Andrea commented. Hello, Andrea, if you're still in there. If you're not, then never mind. But yeah, she commented, and a couple of other people did as well. But it's just funny, you know, you can't really pay attention to that either, really, whether they are fake or not fake, the figures that we get given. You just don't know. You just don't.
Dude, I remember getting it. I got screenshots of it. I don't know where they are. I'd have to dig them out, but I've got screenshots of, we were going to go live, me and Rox, and Rox had 1.2 million views already. We hadn't even gone live yet, and it was saying 1.2 million views, and mine had like 750,000, and I got screenshots of the two. That was before we'd even gone live. And then when I went back to both, so that was gone, that information was gone. They weren't showing how many views there were. But it's just weird. Don't know what, it might have been a glitch, but
strange glitch, isn't it?
Guy, I know, mate. I can't help being a bigot. And I can't be racist because I am part Algerian, and as a result, I identify as Algerian. So my gramps was Algerian, so that means that I'm Algerian, and I have black skin. You're just mistaken. I haven't been out in the sun. If I go out in the sun, it will change colour. Oh, but that makes me racist, though, doesn't it? I'm trying to culturally appropriate or something.
Be careful what you're saying, because Larry over my shoulder here, he gets very touchy.
Ooh.
So, you know, he's a bit fickle when it comes to stuff like that, old Larry. Yeah. You know
my nan needs to have a couple of them.
I got that from a charity shop I worked in, actually. I volunteered in the shop. The manager, she didn't know what to do with it, and she said, "Oh, I can't put it in the window, can I?" I said, "Well, why not?" "Well, people might get funny." I said, "Why would they get funny?" Anyway, I bought it off her for £5, and I kept him. It's an original, and it's part of my childhood because that's what used to be on the side of Robinson jar jams on the labels. Was a golly one.
It did. Yeah,
and then it got misused, misrepresented, and then the politics got hold of it.
The room that I slept in my nan's, because I stayed over my nan's like 4 days a week. I'd stay at my nan's when I was young. And the room that I stayed in there was a chair in it, and sat on the chair was this porcelain doll, a teddy bear, and a gollywog. And I liked the teddy bear, but the porcelain doll and the gollywog used to just give me the creeps because the way they were just staring, like constantly staring. It's like they were always looking at you.
Wow.
The teddy bear was cool. Really, really old and tattered though, man. Like proper old bear.
But for me, that represents a part of my childhood and my sort of personal. I had a couple of people questioning me on it, like, why have you got a gollywog in your video? Instead of asking me about the subject matter that I was talking about, they're more concerned about what's in the background of my video. And I thought to myself, well, you're obviously not paying attention to what I'm saying then, because if you did, then you would never in a million years have been asking me that question about why is there a gollywog. You'd understand me. But obviously you've not been watching me. And that's the thing. You've got a lot of people that just sort of, you just think, well, yeah. So I don't drain myself anymore with that sort of nonsense. I just move on quickly. And that's that. You know what I mean? There we have it.
Yeah, man.
But anyway, I'm going to head off, mate.
All right, dude. Take care. Take it
You
easy.
too.
Thank you very much. And we'll speak again soon. All right, mate.
Absolutely will do. Thank you. And enjoy the rest of the week. Try and stay sane and all the rest of it.
Yes.
Speak to you all soon.
Man.
See you all later, everybody in the chat as well. Thank you. Speak to you soon.
Take it easy, man.
Take care, mate. Bye.
I better dive into the chat room, haven't I? Because I've really not been paying it much attention at all. I was called Mowgli by my mates. Mowgli was Mowgli was Jungle Book, wasn't he? Yeah, I was thinking then it was something else. No, Jungle Book. Jungle Book was cool, man. I'm the king of swingers, jungle VIP. I've reached the top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me. Well, that was cool, man. Having Sven on, because it meant that I didn't have to think too much about what I was going to say. Or my thinking was helped. Hope you all enjoyed it. Vividness, Voynich, Nigel, Plane Drifter, Martin, Guy, Ross, who are we? Just JP, Bill Bacon, Shari, Jolly Man, Jenny, and sorry, I don't know if you can hear it, the lad singing. It's the only song that he ever sings. He sings it all day. I think I'm going to close the stream down now. We've been going for 3 hours and 3 minutes. So I'll be back. Don't know when. Just keep your eyes peeled. I'll be back at some point. Hopefully to have another brilliant conversation with somebody, whoever's about. But thanks to everybody that's been chatting and everybody that's been sat here listening. I'm going to play you out. A couple of videos. See you later.
We all know what's coming, what's just around the corner. We all know that we don't have long. We all know that we're connected. We all know that we have our soul tribes, possibly connected in every incarnation through the generations. And we are finding each other. And we are realizing that there is a better way. Going back to our roots, embracing ancient knowledge and ancient culture to live life better now. This is what we are doing with the Magic Treehouse. We are moving to Ecuador. We're going to work with the indigenous people, become self-sufficient, and no longer slaves to the system. Building a new community for a new way of life. The Magic Treehouse, Center for Healing.
Like something you would say growing up. You know, like, man, I'm in a treehouse. This is awesome. I can see trees all around me. I got a telescope. This is rad.
Because we have a goon who was child trafficked and she doesn't actually know for sure what her real birthday is.
He doesn't follow the mainstream research only. He digs very deep.
Yeah, that's important. It's all comes down to awareness. Because
It's like a sort of pearlescent kind of...
That's really what I wanted to try to show you, is that it's not like that when you get it in the light. Anyway, it's not doing
science. The mainstream has to adjust.
the awareness, we have to
We gotta go, mate. No worries, bro. We've been going for 4 hours.
Sorry, but it's been a really good pleasure.
Wow. Yeah.
Who was it who was saying their TV got hit the other day, got struck by lightning?
The big speakers, and yeah, I messed my ears up. I feel like that could be connected to the science thing a little bit, but regardless, I got time over it.
My chaos is always well-natured, or has a positive